keep inviting your friends in. I really appreciate those of you who invite people to listen to our show. Call your friends and say, hey, A Mexican Crossing Lines is on.
Yeah, that's right.
With your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Here on 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo-Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And you can also find our past podcasts on kpppff.com.
That's right, a lot of P's, Eric. It's a past podcast on kpppfm.com. It's our website where we store all of our shows, and we put them up there, and we're now YouTubing our shows, so I'm a little bit behind on our past two shows, but we take them off of Facebook, and we upload them there, and we also put the audio files in that sometimes we play on the air locally so people can hear the shows in the audio on a radio station. You can go there and find all of our shows from when we first started, before we were even on the radio, kpppfm.com. And there's other places, you should get a hold of us, with information. And a lot of people have done a lot of good things. You've been using our Facebook page, 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead. And a lot of messages come in there. It's a fine way of doing it. If you don't like to be on Facebook and write to us or say something, you can also do email Cindy at kpppfm.com, me at Duke at kpppfm.com. A lot of P's in there.
Not easy, is it? Huh.
Not so easy when you have to say it over and over again. Also we have that call-in line number that's right there on the screen, and that's a way where it's a message line, actually, so you can leave a message for us, a recorded message at 701-566-0917. And also, let's go to my document here. We've our social medias.
Yep, we have.
My document's all frozen. There we go.
It's our Twitter.
Yeah.
At media_PPP.
That's
You can also
exactly
find
right.
us on Facebook at 88.1 Fargo FM Fargo-Moorhead. Dang it! It got me.
That's right. Well, also we at media_PPP, and of course the Facebook 88.1 FM KPPP. And just 88.1.
I jumped in to try to help you there, but I wasn't much help, was I?
Well, that's right.
We figured it out eventually.
We figured it out.
And you will too. There's so many different ways to get a hold of us.
I know.
You can. There's a lot of different ways.
Emails, all sorts of ways.
And we do get a lot of messages. I do apologize as our station has grown and our audience has grown. It is very hard for me to respond to each and every one of the messages. I do respond to almost every single email I get. And of course, that's one of the best ways of sending large amounts of information,
and attachments
and documents, pictures, and things like that. But I get stuff through Facebook and Signal and Messenger and Proton Mail and all sorts of ways.
And Facebook hasn't been treating us very well lately.
No.
They've been interrupting our shows. They've been doing things that kick us offline. If we get kicked offline, we're going to go back immediately and do a part 2 of the show. So, it happened the other night. Lots of people are watching, over 1,500 views, right when we were watching, and boom, we're gone. And we tried the part 2, and that went down after a while, and we did another part of part 2, And so the last 2 parts of that show were really good to see and understand, but very few people went and watched them. That's one of Facebook's ploys to keep us from broadcasting. We're exploring how to do a YouTube and a Facebook stream at the same time, so we have an alternative stream going on that's steady, And we want to keep the Facebook audience and have the Facebook comments and all that, but we may be trying to simulcast on YouTube and Facebook. Where Nemo and I are studying that. We're going to figure that out very, very soon.
Yes, we're gonna broaden our horizons over here.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing gonna hold us back.
Yeah,
Not you and me, Duke. We'll figure it out.
And remember, we run a radio station. We broadcast on the air. We broadcast audio to, 5 miles, more than 5 miles around Fargo-Moorhead. That pretty much is the whole city, Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo-Dilworth. Hundreds of thousands of people. Our signal actually stretches out because we live in flat land up here in North Dakota, Minnesota. And we also have a tower that's over 200 feet in the air. And we're broadcasting low power, but that power goes a long way. So there's a lot of ears listening to us. And like I said, we do our Facebook Lives, and we take audio, and we produce a show for the local community to hear on the radio. And we're in control of that. They aren't jumping us on that because we own the rights, we have a license, and we own the equipment on the tower.
Plus, this story is one of the most important historical news pieces for North Dakota,
Yeah.
for this region, really, because what happened at Standing Rock will live in infamy. What happened at Standing Rock and what happened after Standing Rock, these moments in history, what have led us up to this time in American history where we're
Yeah.
examining whether or not our president is treasonous. We're in a very strange place in history and time. And believe me when I tell you, every bit of what happened at Standing Rock and everything that's happened since then that we've been reporting to you has something to do with where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to bring you more pieces of that puzzle. The people around here should be fascinated
Yeah.
to learn how much of what happened at Standing Rock connects directly to what's happening in the administration right now.
Yeah.
And those of you who have been paying attention to our shows here on A Mexican Crossing Lines, our reporting on Standing Rock, you probably have a bigger picture of what really happened out there than anybody else does. And it's probably because you were paying attention to what happened in the Kathleen Bennett case. In order to try to exonerate this innocent woman, we ran into a whole lot of barriers. And in doing so, and I'm trying to uncover what was going on behind those powers, that those barriers that were blocking us from expressing the story, from telling the story. We found a lot of bad guys.
Yeah.
We found a lot of people that were not there with the intention that they claimed to be, that were doing bad things to the people, the innocent people involved in the Kathleen Bennett case, the witnesses. Wow, it really woke us up.
Definitely.
I mean, I didn't expect that. I mean, it was hurt. It was painful a lot of the way. It was like, oh my God, is this true? Like
Yeah.
this person too? This person?
I know,
Wow.
and that's why we got involved, and it was kind of like, wait a minute, it was just at the surface, it was like, oh, just get some advocates, we'll help you out and give you some telephone numbers, some attorneys' numbers. We never dreamed that the corruption went so deep. We never dreamed that Russian infiltration would be connected to Standing Rock. And when you said that about, I don't know, a year ago, people thought you were crazy. Thought, what are you talking about, Russian? And it's like, just people were, Ed Higgins and Yesta, Resovich or whatever her name is, they started talking Russian on their Facebook pages going, she thinks it's the Russians. A lot of people are sitting in their homes, in their little hidey holes right now, really frightened because they've been connected to Russian infiltration stuff, and they're trying to hide because subpoenas are coming left and right for people in this country, and it's people that we've been reporting on. I mean, this is amazing information. So, when the person comes out and says the truth in the early beginning, and people think it's all the person's crazy for that sort of stuff, we've shown you the proof. I know it'd be a lot to ask if you've never been on our show. Is go to kpppfm.com and go to A Mexican Crossing Line and go back about a year and watch about...
No, it's longer than that.
Okay, go back 2 years and watch about 3 weeks worth of hours of our shows. And, and it's an audio format. You can do it when you're driving. If you can take any trips, you can listen for, 2 or 3 hours and listen to a show. But on the Facebook Live, we show the actual images. We show documents. We do slides that prove what we're talking about. And so visually seeing it is you see a lot more. On the radio and in the audio, we try to describe things, but, it's not the same as actually seeing the paper right in front of you. So I'd encourage you to go watch some of these past shows. And we're putting those links in the comment sections, I believe. And that gives you an opportunity to do that.
So, just to remind you of where we left off on our last show, I was showing you how some people got justice or some people got help from the WPLC and some people didn't.
That's right.
And I also showed you the interesting ways in which lawyers from the WPLC were connected to ex-CIA people who were writing open memos to Trump right before he went to Helsinki. Okay? and that Trump's, I don't know, protege, dominatrix. I don't know, what do you call Roger Stone? Is he's his other brain?
I don't know. He's a marionette person. He's a person who created
the
Trump.
guy that Trump sold his soul to.
Yeah, Trump, Roger Stone.
Right. We showed that Chris Cuomo asked Roger Stone about the indictments, and also that he asked him about whether or not they had done anything wrong, and Roy McGovern was brought up again by Roger Stone. And then we showed you very interesting story of a water protector that you guys might have heard of, Aylin Antinok. That's where we left off. You remember that?
Yeah.
We were telling you about the Matthew Roby picture, because we told you there was 2 defendants that were connected to the Marcus Mitchell case, one of which was Matthew Roby, and the other one of which is Jamison Dargan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you look up and see what happened to their cases? Can you give them an update?
Yes,
on
Dargan's case he took that deferred sentence, which means if you don't do anything wrong for a year, the charges go away and you're kind of on probation for a year. He took a deferred sentence, so then the charges are dropped after 1 year. And the other guy, Roby, his was weird because I didn't understand it. He made an appearance, but the trial was canceled, and it said made appearance. So I don't know what that means. I think he's probably going to take a deferred sentence, or they had some other negotiation to do. There was no hearing set on that. The third person, Nia Miller, excuse me, she was the only third person out of the 14 people that were dismissed. Hers, she had 2 charges, and she got the first charge, an acquittal on the trespass charge, but the second charge of obstruction, she took a deferred sentence. So all those co-defendants we showed the other night, that whole section of, I don't know what you call cases, are all done now. And every single one pretty much took a plea deal. And that's really, it shows that Marcus Mitchell, his case hasn't been heard yet. That's going to be heard in September. That would be the last one.
Mm-hmm. And again, that was very bizarre. That still hasn't contacted me. It seemed from the comments he made on the show, he was very pro WPLC, an organization that has a lot of questionable behaviors. Although I did notice that he mentioned in the comments of our last show, Marcus Mitchell,
yes,
the man that was injured, shot in the eye, because you were talking about how he claimed no one had helped him. He talked to the media. They didn't want to help him. And he said Russian television did show up and do a report on it. And I thought, why, how coincidental is that? Christina Hollenbeck and Russia ended up on Russian television the day after the bridge attacks on November 20th, saying that she was a medic.
Yeah.
And reporting to RT News that she was saving people, So Christina Hollenbeck is the one that we called the kingpin.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Kathleen Bennett case, because she was going around collecting false statements against this completely innocent Oglala Lakota woman, claiming that she had abused her elderly 82-year-old mother that had dementia and was kidnapped away from Kathleen while she was left to rot in a jail for 6 months. That story had a happy ending because we were able, through media justice work and our reporting and fundraising on her behalf, to get her a legal defense. We were able to exonerate her and have her charges completely dropped.
Yeah.
Her mom went home. She went home. Unfortunately, her mother has since passed away. But she had 20 years she was facing in prison. And she walked with no charges, completely exonerated and free. That was quite a feat. that we were able to achieve on behalf of that family. I haven't heard of any case of anybody that went out to Standing Rock that was able to achieve the effect that we did on someone that was facing as many years.
Exactly.
Every single person has taken a plea deal, it seems to me. Almost everyone has taken a plea deal or a deferred sentence. I didn't think that was a strategy. It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
We've talked about all of this in other shows. So I'm going to take us back into this show and kind of start off where we left off, which was when we were talking about this this interesting girl in the pictures with the veteran Matthew Roby that was out at the end of the camp and that ended up in Flint, Michigan with Aylin Antinok. One of the reasons that I have brought into my storytelling of what's been happening, all of these figures from the past, is because when I talk about people that are currently still facing 15 years in prison for no damn good reason, I can't say it any other way, Brennon Nastacio, a.k.a. Bravo 1, the man that disarmed Kyle Thompson, this guy who only saved people and put himself in harm's way over and over and over again. I say that because I stayed with Sam and Brennon when we went to the Allied Media Conference, and I heard of the many things that Brennon did to protect people, to keep people safe, to make sure that people had what they needed at camp. And he literally put his body in between a semi-automatic weapon and other humans. And he disarmed a meth-addled pipeline security worker. And yet, he's facing 15 years.
Yeah.
He's still facing 15 years. And getting help, getting someone to tell his story, getting the people that claimed to be rah-rah, sis, boom, bah, water protector unity, whether they be media or leadership out there from Standing Rock, crickets. When it comes to this story, to this man, to this hero, nothing. Not the media. In fact, when we were at the Allied Media Conference, Unicorn Riot, one of the people that had asked Brennon whether they could interview him, denied him a spot on a panel that didn't even have any Indigenous people on it.
Yeah. And it was a film about Standing Rock. I mean, they were doing a presentation at Allied Media Conference, which is, Unicorn Riot was there to show how they were doing this media work at Standing Rock. And they even had Brennan in the movie.
Yes.
And
Brennan was featured in the movie.
You know, and Sam and Brennan had tried to get into the LA Media Conference, months ago, and they denied him, even though they live in Detroit.
We did end up going, though.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear that whole story, you can go back and watch our show.
Exactly. We don't need to rehash that whole thing again. But
It just goes to show you how neither time nor wisdom or realization of the truth or conscience building, maybe fear, a little bit of fear that the bad things that you've done will catch up to you. The people that you've ignored will catch up. All these things will catch up to you. It doesn't matter if you're Unicorn Riot. It doesn't matter if you're the Intercept. It doesn't matter if you're Chase Lion Eyes or LaDonna, Mama LaDonna. It doesn't matter which one of these phonies, these people that have, it doesn't matter if you're trans Rachel Miwok, Indian wannabe Desiree Kane. It doesn't matter. It's all going to catch up to you. People now know who and what you are. And I want to remind you how unjust this story is of Brennon.
Yeah.
How unjust that this man has been facing 15 years for this long. Think about it. They haven't set his trial.
No.
They are trying to put him and his life on hold in a restrictive way that keeps him from being able to even plan a future. No, it's not a jail, but he can't travel out of that area. He can't decide whether or not he wants to marry his girlfriend, plan to have a family, decide where he wants to permanently live. He can't even think about those things, and neither can anybody that loves him. They haven't even set his trial. And this they have done to a hero. Why? Because they've been able to dig their heels in deep here in North Dakota against water protectors. And the very people who were supposed to be out there protecting, the very people who were supposed to be out there giving legal defense, the very people who were supposed to be out there giving media visibility to those who needed it the most, failed at their only job. I'll give you an example. Mike Vassig and Michael Marcus were the people that started the mayhem on the bridge November 20th.
Yep.
How many hundreds of people were involved because of what they set in motion? How many people were injured?
Many.
How many officers were involved? It was the largest attack on people, the largest action. And it was because Marcus knew that the act of removing that burned out vehicle, the act of opening the bridge, would be considered an act of that they would repress.
Yes.
Violently, that they would stop by any means necessary. And yet he did it anyway. Mike, Marcus, and Vassig started a building on fire inside the camp. They filmed themselves with Vassig's wife, Olivia Bias, supposed wife, Olivia Bias. Partner in crime, I call her.
Mm-hmm.
She also lied about Kathleen Bennett and about the kidnapper, Mulaney Stoneman. Those people who for some reason have simply been allowed to go on promoting themselves as hero water protectors of the movement when they were responsible for putting a Lakota woman in jail for no reason and leaving her there to rot for 6 months and leaving her elderly mom in a hospital by herself for 6 months. Don't tell me that did not lead to an early demise for that woman. The deterioration that took place over the time that she was left in that hospital was humongous. There were people that were severely injured and burned.
Yeah.
Especially at the camp closures. And I was told by several people, what was my big problem with the fact that they burned the building? Ed Higgins said in his video, Ed Higgins said it was a controlled fire. Here's his video. Here's him saying, it's okay.
Yep.
All right, guys, Ed Higgins here, live on Hollywood Boulevard. Is that where we're at? Yeah. I never know where I'm at. Okay, so we're going to talk about this HQ. So our HQ is on fire. It's controlled demolition. It's due to intelligence that was on the walls. No need to worry. Everybody is okay at Ochedi Shakawee. The HQ is actually at the end of Flag Road to the left. There's actually a barracks still next to it. That is okay. They're actually going to take that apart and they're going to move it probably to LaDonna's land. But the HQ hit my heart, but it's got to get taken down. So that's what happened. Let everybody know. Unfortunately, Rattler took down the video, so now you can't see the update. But share this out. Let everybody know everything is okay. Nobody died, and information was decimated. In 10 seconds or less, Inspector Gadget style. Oh. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, it was like, what the heck is going on? It was at a very crucial time where the military buildup had been to a certain point that they were like surrounding the camp, and people were afraid that they were going to get raided every day. And all of a sudden I'm watching, and I used to follow Michael Marcus's stuff. I watched this video that he actually took off where he started this fire in this building. I'm like, what? Then he was on the phone with some other people. I'm like, oh my God, Marcus just started the building on fire. And I was watching it, and by the time I went out and told people in our house that he started a fire, I went back, the video was gone.
Marcus started a fire at the headquarters.
Yep.
Marcus pulled the truck off a bridge.
Yep.
Fasig drove into the pipeline worker, knew just where he'd be, drove right into them, drove him off the road, drove him, and then Brennon had to disarm him.
Yeah.
Right? If you will recall, all of the things that these people have done, that these people did, these fires that occurred, especially the ones at the end of camp, do you remember that?
Yeah.
We knew when the Kathleen Bennett case was going on that Russell had overheard they planned to destroy everything, and destroy everything they did. And I knew that, we knew that, we'd reported on that before the headquarters building was burned. I condemned the burning of the building, the danger it put people in, and the people that burned it, and the people that authorized its burning. I called them all questionable. I said they were likely infiltrators or FBI or something like that. People's hair was on fire. They were yelling and screaming at me. Mater is a hero.
Yeah.
Marcus is a hero. How dare you?
Yes, you calling them infiltrators, you could get them killed. You are putting them in danger by saying these things.
Oh, yeah.
Look at us now.
Yes, I heard all sorts of nonsense from people. And it turned out Derek, his son, is an informant. Mike Fasig himself is also an informant for Morton County. Michael Marcus is a known informant. This isn't even his first time being an informant. And now that you look back at all the actions that they took while they were there, don't you ask yourself if they were informing on certain people to put charges on them to get to entrap them? Didn't you see what they did to Red Fawn? Don't you see how these people are no different than the FBI person that was trying to entrap Red Fawn? That's who these people are. They hustled you, and they hustled everybody in America that believed their crap, including the people that featured them in The Intercept. And the people that helped to get them featured. Because believe me, there were PR people hired. There were people working at every level in this operation to ensure that the optics and the outcomes of what happened in Standing Rock served their interest and agenda going forward. Now, if you will recall, there were some people that were very severely injured at those burnings at the end of the camp.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that they were not ceremonial burnings, because there was a video in which Dean Dedman, while laughing with Michael Fasig, dedicates the burnings of the buildings to me, and then curses at me and says that I am a moron for having divulged the fact that all of the camp was going to be burned down and destroyed, and that everything was going to be destroyed. As I had reported earlier, even since the HQ, he acknowledges it. He goes, "You're dumb. You let go of that information way too soon." He acknowledges that I knew information ahead of time that nobody else knew, and all of them denied, covered up, and then told people were ceremonial burnings.
Yeah.
Here's that video.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
That was the best joke of the night, man.
That was the joke of the night, I think. 821 FM, it wasn't me.
Yeah, you hear that, Cindy? It wasn't him. You let go of knowledge way too early in that move. But it's okay. I forgive you. We all fuck up sometimes. This is dedicated to 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. Here, hold that. I'm gonna get myself in.
Dan and Nimkin was out there beating his drum and dancing around, pretending that these were ceremony.
Yeah.
Disgusting behavior.
It is.
I wasn't surprised to see him chase Iron Eyes and all those phonies out at Burning Man afterwards, because they would. Wouldn't they? That's exactly who would sell out their own people.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you know, speaking of sellouts, Fassig, Peckham, and Higgins, who were all recently involved in the kidnapping and cover-up of the rape of Lacey Williams, convicted rapist, Derek Fassig, Michael Fassig's son. Yeah, those people were all involved. And they weren't just involved, they used their media platform to further the crime. And it wasn't their first time either, because previously they had tried to promote Courtney and Kyle Thompson. Yeah, Kyle Thompson, the guy that tried to shoot people at the camp, the guy that Brennon Nastacio disarmed. They tried to turn those meth-addled, violent pipeline workers into the heroes of the movement. They were the heroes. Forget about Brennon. Who cares about Brennon? What did he ever do? He was abandoned. Meanwhile, the WPLC, Myron Dewey, Ed Higgins, Activate Now, and all of these other media outlets that were out there, Indigenous Rising Media, Indigenous Environmental Network, all of these groups, you know who they are.
Yeah.
They put their time, energy, and focus on this Kyle Thompson and Courtney Doctor situation.
Mm-hmm.
From your love and support. Toss down $10. She needs to get one of those meth patches. Right?
Yeah.
Remember that Badger, a.k.a. Olive Bias, testified against Kathleen Bennett, an innocent woman, that's Marcus's girlfriend, who was defended by WPLC lawyer Bruce Nestor. He didn't want to help Kathleen Bennett. Bruce Nestor didn't. And he was later fired, along with Jeffrey Haas, by Brennon Nastacio. And last time I talked about the WPLC, I gave you a little bit of background as to why that's really significant given who Jeffrey Haas is and what he's connected to. So let's look at that post of Kyle Thompson being disarmed by Brennon. This was posted by none other than Snitch, the guy who turned state's evidence against Bravo. It is on his snitch words and his snitch words only, because I looked at the evidence in Bravo's discovery that they are holding up these bogus charges against him. Charges they should have dropped long, long ago. But for the fact that they want to keep their foot on his throat and not allow him to live the life of a free man. And here are some comments that I thought were very interesting on this public post made by Michael Marcus on June 25th at 11:02 a.m. Do you want to read those, Duke?
Yeah, Michael Marcus. Well, let's just say that there is more than just Bravo 1 there. This was in a post where, he said, I remember this day well. And then all of a sudden people started talking about, well, who was in the picture and what happened. And then they started bringing up Bravo's name and discrediting him. So this started the whole thread with Marcus, which he was commenting on. And remember, Marcus is waiting. He's awaiting his sentencing yet. It's going to happen in August, I think. So, I was surprised he's actually commenting on things on Facebook in the first place. But anyways, he said, and this is a whole bunch of posts on his page, but this is just what they're talking about Bravo 1. We'll just say that there was more than just Bravo 1 there. And then see, Victoria says, I remember this. I remember this day. I'll never forget, said Kelly Pruitt. Yesta Resovich said, we all do, in reference to I remember this day. There is one person claiming way more credit than he's actually due. In reference of Bravo, disarming Kyle Thompson. And then someone said, well, he's getting nailed though, isn't he? And Yesta says, he isn't getting anything done to him. He doesn't even have a court date yet. It's fishy as F. And someone says, wow. He was charged, though.
So she's trying to impugn with the fact that the court has, for some reason, not set his court date. For whatever reason, that means that he is no longer a credible hero. They're trying to discredit him, just like Mike Fasig did on his live streams. All of these people have one thing in common. They have tried to delegitimize the heroic acts of a man that put his life and limb on the line for hundreds of other people.
Yes.
It's evil.
It is. And this spreading of information that happened in this thread, I thought was pretty incredible, because I'm thinking, well, everybody knows that Brennan's state charges were dropped. He was, accused of brandishing a knife. He disarmed this man without violence. And that man didn't get arrested. He did. And so
he was accused, but that it was not ever proven that he
so those charges were dropped. And then this Yesta says, yes, he was charged. She says he was charged common, both state and federal. State charges were dropped. Well, that's a piece of information that's true. Probably the only thing in this whole thread. He has never been to court on his federal charges. He has plowed through God knows how many lawyers. He was dropped by the Water Protector Legal Collective. And they
was dropped?
Yeah, he was not dropped. He fired them because they were doing nothing for them. They hadn't even read his discovery.
Wow, this person is lying.
Yeah, no, she's a liar. This Yesta you have to watch out for. I think, look at her last name. She's going to get a subpoena soon, too. A Water Protector Legal Collective, and they refuse to continue supporting him, so something's going on that we don't know. I'm not going to say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but something is definitely going on when everybody else has been to court and everybody else has had trial dates or other court dates, and this person just seemed to be sitting around sucking on the goodwill of his supporters. That's, it's a veiled accusation that he's
she's
saying he's an infiltrator, and she's the infiltrator. Believe me, we'll show you some stuff in here. And someone says, Perry P. Leet Lay says, sounds very frustrating. And Michael Marcus joins in again. The one that has federal charges has a lawyer paid by Legal Collective. Now, if he doesn't have them anymore, that's on him.
Wow.
So it's basically, it's his own fault if he doesn't have a lawyer anymore. And so the next post, like I said, this thread went on for a while. Yesta says, Michael Marcus, he lost him. No more Legal Collective for him, like she's celebrating. And Michael Marcus says, Yesta, then that was his choice or Sam's. Now they're bringing in Sam. You could discredit Sam.
They've always tried to do that, though.
You got to pick on the women, Cowards, yes. Yesta says to Michael Marcus, who knows? Not me. She claims that they refused to continue helping unless he took a plea deal for some shiz. And then Michael Marcus says, that's not true. Like he would know. He's an informant. He was how does he know? How is he privy to it? Well, maybe he is.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if the WPLC lawyers are breaking protocol and giving information.
In fact, I think they're
discussing things with people that they should not be discussing them with, because there is ample evidence that they have done just that.
Exactly. And then Michael Marcus goes on, they would have stuck with him and fought as hard as they could against the prejudiced jury and all that, what he wanted, because I thought about going to do it. Let's see how this continues. It kind of didn't make sense.
Crazy people don't always make sense, honey. It's
okay. It's not true. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked at all, Resovich says. They're saying he lost his standing with the legal collective when the truth is that he fired them and he needs a defense and he's got a different attorney. They would have stuck with him and fought as hard as they could against the prejudice jury if all that's what he wanted, because I thought about doing it too. About fighting? Well, you're an informant. And Yesta Resovich says, I know. It's all a ploy to garner something he's not deserving of.
Not deserving of when he put his life on the line?
Yeah, and he
Why
saved
could
all
you
his
say
people.
that with a straight face?
I know. They rely on people not having a memory of what went on. And she says, it's sad, really. Each of you are heroes in your own right. Each of you deserve a great deal more than you were dealt. At the same time, you're all just common men doing what is right for the sake of doing the right thing. For that, I am forever grateful. I don't know what she's talking about.
I think she's a little biased.
Oh, yes.
Well, I know she's a little biased. A lot biased, actually.
And then Marcus tries to clarify, and this picture has nothing to do with the federal charges. Yeah, and it gives you perfect opportunity to discredit Bravo 1. Yesta says, I know a lot of people don't understand that. That was only the state charges. The Fed charges are for something entirely different, probably should say, for something else. Good to see this pointed out, someone says. Someone keeps playing this up when their Fed charges aren't even part of this, as though this would somehow change the other because they are morons. You know,
People that have no idea what's in the file.
They've been talking about
They're talking about the case as if they are privy to what's in the case file.
Yeah.
I can tell you, as somebody that actually has examined, with the permission of this family, the discovery in this case, that they have not one shred of physical
real
evidence that ties Brennon to any of the crazy
federal charges that
crazy trumped up allegations being made against him in a last ditch effort to malign a hero from Standing Rock because he embarrassed Morton County.
Yes, he did. And they should be embarrassed. You know, this Yesta Resovich found going. She says, Faith, no need, honey. We have all the pics and the videos as well. Oh yeah. Some of us were there. And if you mean the picture that was cropped, there were 7 people in the water who aren't trying to make themselves relevant by cropping out other people out of the photo. Like Brennan made these photos and cut a bunch of people out to say, he was the one that talked Kyle Thompson down, was carrying a loaded weapon, a loaded military weapon, talked him down and got him to give it up. And he didn't fire and didn't kill people, which he could have done easily. Those other people standing around, yes, it was important that people were there. And then Faith says back, I wasn't there. That I was on my way back, and then here's a lie that Yesta, and they're doing this just a couple of weeks ago.
This is the first one?
Oh, there's another lie of discrediting. He escalated the situation, pulling out his knife, and AB had to push him back, and he claimed to calm him down. He wasn't a hero. He damn near got people killed. Really, Yesta. Yesta says his federal charges are for a fire at another location, and his state charges were dropped.
So he says that the guy that saved lives was the one that almost got people killed.
Yes.
But the people, including her lover, Michael Fassig, and the rat, Michael Marcus,
yes.
and of course Derek Fassig, the other rat, they're all informants.
Yeah.
They're all proven. We've shown the evidence from the court dockets and stuff. We've shown you that these people are all rats. They're all informants. They were all agents of Morton County working with the authorities.
Yes,
okay?
I agree.
So, how are the people that lit fires at the camp that actually led to explosions that had people life flighted out of the camp? The largest military action that took place on the 20th that had people getting shot at, having water cannons shot at them, numerous very serious injuries. Those are the people that are doing right. But the guy that stopped somebody with a automatic, semi-automatic weapon from shooting a bunch of people, he's the one that puts people in danger?
Yeah, that's a really absurd connection. And here the rest of that is alarming to me because it's a propaganda and lie. She goes on, Yesta Resovich says, His federal charges are for a fire at another location, and his state charges were dropped thanks to Mater's hard work getting Kyle to tell the truth.
You know what, though? I will say this for Yesta Resovich. I think she could be a great possible new hire at the Trump administration.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman works harder than Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Oh, yeah. Good spinner.
Let's
There's
take a look.
There's just one more comment.
Oh, okay, go right ahead. Sorry.
And then as Faith Jensen says at the very end, yes, I'm familiar with Brennan's lies, and she who shall not be named take over to further her interests.
Oh, she who shall not be
She
named
who
must be Samantha.
Yeah. She who shall not be
I've
named.
been called that so many
I know.
times. Y'all better figure out how you're going to differentiate us if you're going to call us all the same thing. She who shall not be named. I even have a show by that name, don't I? Because
Yes.
there were so many people
Say her
saying
name.
that.
I think it was Say Her Name.
No, I had a separate show called Say Her Name where a bunch of people that didn't want to say Kathleen Bennett's name started saying her name and the reasons why they began to say their name.
That's right.
And then I had a different show where people were saying, we're not going to talk about her, and now we're
Yeah.
talking about me. And that was Myron Dewey,
Mhm.
Ed Higgins, all those people. They were like, we're not going to talk about her. But they were talking about me.
Yeah.
And these people who claim not to care, not to want to know what we're doing, don't listen to them, don't talk to them, don't listen to Cindy, don't talk to Samantha, Samantha's bad, blah, 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 blah. But there they are, glued to our every word and our every action because they're full of crap.
Yep.
So I wanted to show you all of those comments. They're from a while back, but it bears looking at in the context of what Brennon did and what we know now about what happened at Standing Rock and who these people really are.
Yeah.
And now you can see their evil actions and their evil words and their agenda behind it. And let me tell you, it hasn't stopped.
Yeah, exactly. And also that you premised at the beginning of the show. And we showed you fires that were started, and we'll talk more about the fires. But all fires aren't treated equally at Standing Rock. Brennan has charges of a fire and some other, I can't remember exactly how they're worded, but it's like they're very serious felony charges about starting fires, and they don't have any evidence of it. And yet we just showed you 2 videos. And that Michael Marcus started the fire at that one, and the other one, Dean Dedman or Mike Fazek, right in front of the fire, dedicating it to us. And this is when people saying, oh, the ceremonial burns are happening, and that's why buildings are burned. We happen to know that the legal collective tent got burned to the ground and the evidence with it. And there's no one being charged for any of this arson, any of these fires, except for Brennan. Michael Marcus has been charged. He took a plea deal. He admitted to it. And he gave state's evidence to have them go easy on them and fingered Brennan. He's an informant. And he's right here 3 weeks ago, throwing shade on Brennan. And, the whole thing about Brennan, his character is very important. He saved lives. He's doing the right thing. And he's being blamed for being a danger to the United States. And this is an innocent man. And these people are going on these threads and saying these things to discredit them. And they're not doing it just because they feel it. They're doing it for a purpose.
Yeah. And I shudder to think, because I now know Fazek is an informant. His son is an informant. Izzy Hernandez, we had him on the show. He was real tight with Fazek in there for a while afterwards. Claims that he wants to be severed from those ties and relationships forevermore, including not mentioning that he was ever with Derek. He doesn't want his name mentioned together with him. But they were hanging out. And there was a lot of people that, whether by hook or crook, they ended up hanging out with all these real crooks, like con men, crooks, rapists. And that's on you. That's not on us. That was your choice. You decided to continue to travel around with these people who ended up going to different places to defraud and rape and steal from people. This is the kind of stuff. Well, first of all, let's show them who Yesta is.
Let's have a look at Yesta.
This is Yesta Resovich. And the way she came into my radar wasn't those comments. I knew Yesta Resovich, or I found out who Yesta Resovich was, because Yesta Resovich called me pretending to be a person. She is groupie numero uno for Mike Fasig and his lover slash lapdog slash, I don't know.
Sugar mama.
Yes, that for sure. Sugar mama. But I know Fasig had many. And so I did not know that at the time of her call. She passed herself off as being merely a journalist trying to get information about what I was talking about on my shows, because I had, as I told you, I became very upset about these fires and the danger that people were put in. And I was publicly denouncing the people involved in setting these fires, in destroying property, in hurting people, and all of that. And she told me that she is the. Do you have her profile or any other stuff for her?
I don't think so.
Okay, so then I have the Julie Kurlowitz video, that one.
Yep.
So there's a video, and this is the video that Julie Kurlowitz posted on February 14, 2017. Yesta appears in this video, I believe, with a white guy that might be her actual real husband.
Oh.
And in this video is Aylin Antinok, Dan, the old white dude that she's with, Yesta Resovich is with, Aubrey Peckham of Activate Now, Jacob, whoever, I don't know who that is, Mike, of course, who's Mater, a.k.a. Mater, Mike Fasig, and Nate, I don't know who that is. And if you look at the bottom of the video, it says there they are celebrating Mike Fasig's birthday.
Wow.
Birthday suits Mike Fasig. What do you read when you hear birthday suits?
I think of them being all nude.
Mm-hmm.
I think of them birthday suits, in their birthday suits. And I saw enough videos of Fasig and his entourage in hotel rooms, because I said I was doing research back when all these things were happening, and I was keeping tabs on Fasig. And he's always in hotel rooms with a bunch of young women. And it's like, and same thing with Michael Marcus. So it's like, when I see birthday suits, that's what I think of.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this video, you will see a little bits and pieces. You'll see a little bit of what was in that video in an article I'm about to show you that she published in a publication called Dirt Bag Paddlers. I couldn't remember the name of it yesterday, and I kept saying Deep Throat Paddlers.
Yeah, exactly.
Deep Throat Paddlers actually, it rolls off the tongue better, and I bet you do swallow a lot. I mean, look at them. They're all in the... They are. Look at them. I'm just saying.
That's right.
Dirt Bag Paddlers is a lot harder to say. Say it 5 times fast.
Dirt
you
Bag
can't.
Paddlers.
See?
Mm-hmm.
See? So, anyway, I found, if you scroll up on that page, this is their Facebook page I looked at. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it says right there, Yesta Resovich, spelled Y-T-H-S-T-A, Resovich. Is that Russian? I'm asking for a friend.
Yep. I think so.
She did this article paying homage to Mike Fasig, calling him the last Akichita, like the last of the Mohicans. Yes. And you can see here, she isn't just anyone at the
Dirtbaggers.
Dirtbag magazine. She's the admin. It says right there, admin, Yesta, Prather, Resovich is really getting into harvest time. Here's a picture of her pretending to canoe inside of a giant pumpkin.
I think she's the great pumpkin.
She may be the great pumpkin.
Yes.
It is from the Elk Grove Giant Pumpkin Paddle Contest in 2011. She says, proof that I will row or paddle anything.
Gosh.
And she also grew that pumpkin.
Yeah.
So she is able to grow a giant pumpkin carve herself a seat inside of it, and paddle down the river. She really, truly is a magical woman.
That's right.
And that is why I think that her homage to Fasig would have been much better received if she had honestly admitted it was a piece of fiction.
Yes.
But instead, she wrote this nonsense and sold it to the public as truth. And here it is, some of it, all of it. I will just read excerpts from it as Duke shows it on the screen. This is from her, page. It says, "The last of the Akichita, final day at No Dapple Ocheti Camp by Yesta Resovich."
Resovich.
I don't know if I can do a Russian accent,
I
but she
can't.
doesn't have one anyway.
Kind of hard to read. Very
He
poorly done.
stands quiet, leaning against the war pony, looking out over the camp with a faraway stare, seeing the past 5 months of who and what he is now, like a movie playing in his mind. I didn't understand, couldn't understand, until I got there. The phrases, "There is no time," and "That's old news." I didn't see the world the way it is here, all too safe and secure in my white bread existence.
Wow.
And that was supposedly him, him being quoted.
Yeah.
And she says, white bread existence. I find that funny, given that he's supposedly the last of the Akichita. I don't know if she understands. That means blandly conventional in a way that is regarded as characteristic of the white middle class. And as you scroll up, through the I don't know which one you're on here, but there's one where they've got a picture of these women on the video, and they're sitting there in the room on the bed with gas masks on their face. There's, Fasig, and next to him is, I believe, a Frank Archambault or Angry Bird. I saw both of them in some of these pictures.
Yeah.
You can keep going. And as you can see, she wrote this very long and winding love
Lots
homage,
of pictures.
which is about Fasig, for Fasig. It's more about Fasig and, how, and herself. It's really their love story, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, it truly is not a reporter's rendition of what would happen out at Standing Rock, okay? But there's a picture of some these girls in bed wearing these gas masks, and there's Sweetgrass right there in that picture. They're having pizza inside of a tent.
Yeah.
And there they are on the
There it is.
on the bed. That was part of the video.
Okay.
Where that said birthday suits.
Yeah.
That was in the video. They're actually dressed like this. Not all of them, but some of them. And this is what pertains to that picture. It says, "Here I find the company of a band of unlikely people who are the revampant organization known as Veterans Respond. Veterans for Peace. And of course, my band of water protectors. We hold the most bizarre birthday party I have ever attended, where the gifts are gas masks and waterproof ponchos worn among balloons and chocolate cupcakes and candy." I don't even want to know what they were doing in that room.
Yeah, exactly.
She goes on, speaking of Michael Fasig, "The Akichita has moved his band of youth here for safety." You can keep going. It's the next ones.
Okay.
It's the next pictures.
I see. Oh, yes.
It keeps on going. The sun goes down. Nope, that's it. You got to go to the next one. And then if you scroll down, this is the look. Keep going. No, that's not it.
It's the last one I have.
No. It can't be. Maybe it was the fourth one then
Okay.
that was supposed to be the next one. Go ahead. Anytime. Nope, that's not the right one. Is it?
That's the fourth one.
Scroll down. I think you're missing a piece.
I must be missing a piece. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, anyway, there is a picture of him standing by a truck with, I believe it was Angry Bird, or
Okay.
it was Frank Archambault.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the war pony picture.
Ah.
You didn't get the war pony picture?
I remember I had to snip that up because it wouldn't load.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a picture of his truck, which they called the war pony. And he's standing next to it, and it's written all over. And it says, Yakichita had moved his band of youth here for safety. They are somewhat displaced in the new camp, but they will be safe. That's all he cares about. There will be no frontline action while I'm here. The camp is still licking its wounds from the destruction of the last child camp, and the open brutality and still raw wound of having 70 people from their already dwindling number arrested and their teepees burned in scorn. Y'all probably burned your own teepees because y'all were burning everything out there.
Yeah.
And the last child camp was Chase Iron Eyes entrapping a bunch of people into getting arrested. They got you arrested. Y'all should be suing those people for getting you arrested, for falsely imprisoning you, for entrapping you into a situation and getting you arrested.
Mm-hmm.
She goes on, the wounds are raw, bloody, and stinging. Really? But they're emotional. You can't see them, see?
I see.
The protectors have a haunted look behind their eyes. That's why I wanted you to have that picture, because they're smiling in the damn picture.
Okay.
They have no haunted look. They're both sitting there, one arm over the other. They're both smiling, and they look like, they don't look haunted whatsoever. They look like, cha-ching, we're going to cash in on this truck piece by piece. And they did. They sold it piecemeal. And it says they have a haunted look in their eyes. No. They are wounded in their souls. It is a wound that won't heal anytime soon. And then it goes on to say, he stands quiet with faraway eyes. She really likes that faraway eyes line, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And sees all that he has sacrificed and worked for being destroyed, and says nothing. He has stayed through his commitment and faces years of prison for his desire to make this world a better place. He is just a man who believed that if he stood up for what was right, he would prevail. He doesn't know that he has made a difference in the lives of the ones he protected. He has no clue as to what the value of what he has done. There they are, Frank Archambault and Mike Fassig. And Frank Archambault is a registered sex offender who raped one of his own relatives.
Mm-hmm.
He was given a position of security at the camp. And he's posing in this story glorifying the last Akichita, Mike Fassig, who in my opinion isn't really native. He's like, Miwok Indian, Desiree Kane,
that changed.
pretend wannabe Indian. Here they are. There's
Finally.
the picture. That's the picture. And as you can see, there's no sad, faraway look in their eyes. Zoom in even closer. They're smiling, damn it. That's a smile. And she goes on to say, he tells me that the last night he went out and did what he had done for the past 6 months without fail. Walking in the snow around the camp perimeter to make sure that all who dwell there are safe unbeknownst to them. He watches and guards them and protects them from things they do not need to know about. He is the last Akichita. And thank God for that. With Akichitas like this one, who the hell needs enemas, right?
Yep, exactly.
Or enemies, or tiger swan, or anything else when you got crooks and cons like that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, that nonsense preceded her calling me, pretending that she was trying to get information about what was going on. And basically, she wanted to find out what the hell was wrong with me. Why was I so determined to hold accountable those people who would light fires and put people's lives in danger at the camp. I mean, after all, she said, Ed had said it was okay that those properties belonged to certain people and those people had gotten permission to burn the buildings.
Yeah.
So I need to shut up about it. In this audio clip that you're about to hear, I did not want to play the whole thing for you because it's too long. I'm just going to give you a little taste. But let me share with you that I want you to listen for the parts wherein she argues with me about what the difference between hearsay is and gossip. Also, she argues about Kathleen's innocence to me. Like, she says, there's a reason why she's still in jail. And I'm like, she's completely innocent. Oh, no, she said. She sounded just like Mulaney.
Yeah.
Telling me, well, there must be a reason why they have her. It's like she knew something. And so did, of course, Marcus, and so did, of course, Fasig. I knew these people knew things because of the way that they behaved and who they were with, what they said, and the fact that they were directly connected to people that turned state's evidence and gave completely false statements against Kathleen Bennett. So listen to her, how upset she is that I said that Dean had substance abuse issues and claimed that was gossipy.
Oh,
as
really?
if, no, it's not gossipy for me to say Dean has substance abuse issues. She's like, how do you know? And I'm like, because I have eyes and ears. Do you not? Like, how do you miss that? How can you defend that? That's what I said. That's why I said this woman needs to go work for Trump. That's how much in denial she is. She has no concept of reality if she thinks that she can sell these ideas to someone like me or any of you. I think that people like Yesta, Resovich think we're really stupid. Listen to clips that I did of her interview.
I'm out here on the West Coast. Obviously, I'm in California, and I write for Dirtbag Paddlers magazine, and I'm trying to put together several pieces for what's going on out there, or what has gone on out there. And so basically I'm information gathering.
So
that was the first
that's
clip.
her telling me where she works with.
Yep.
Go ahead to the next one.
As long as we've been documenting indigenous peoples in the Americas, that when villages or structures were abandoned because of persecution and or there was a threat that they would fall into enemy hands, it's very, the practice of burning is extremely common, and it's considered a gift to the Creator to burn a holy structure rather than allow it to be desecrated by the enemy. They would rather give it as a gift to the Creator than to allow it to be desecrated. Now, I'm not saying all of the structures that were burned in the camps would fall into that category because I don't have that information. I do know that some of them, 3 in particular, absolutely were burned to protect them.
But you don't know the trajectory of what's happened at Standing Rock, because and specifically, I don't think you've probably heard the interviews that I've done with the people that were. So I could have just stopped at, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, white lady. Mm-hmm. She's like, let me tell you all of the things known about Indians because I, a white woman, know them all. And of course they apply to every situation. So she was making the case for why this was ceremonial burnings of the buildings, even though I just showed you that's complete and total BS. Next clip.
And then you had made some mention this evening of 3 people, or 4 people in particular.
Yeah.
I wrote some notes down here. You made mention of Michael Marcus Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep. They posted a video Where they were
and
burning a
of
building.
Mike Fasig,
They were in the video. Yep, both of them were in the video.
and of Ed Higgins,
Ed came into a.
and of Mowgli.
Mhm.
Okay. And so
Mowgli was mentioned by L'Oreal Blackshaw. You have to go listen to her interview where she talked about the fact that some guy named Mowgli stole Ed Higgins' mom's ashes, and he was covered in human ashes, she told me. And that's a very shocking story, because
mentioned by who? By Laura Lee?
L'Oreal, like the makeup.
Okay. Well, I can tell you for a fact that that's not a true statement. Whatever she said is a blatant lie.
Well,
just so you know, at that one, I know for a fact. I was just kind of laughing my ass off on that one.
You have to go listen to what she said. You have to go listen to what. This is not what I said. This is what she said.
No. I'm just, like I said, I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just stating a fact. And then the structure that was burned belonged to Ed.
That's
the structure that you were referring to.
Right.
He belongs to Ed.
He told me that. And one of my friends told me she paid for half of that building.
But
and she helped go and build it, and he wasn't even there. He wasn't.
That's neither here nor what.
Oh no, she's a
financial arrangement they had. That's between them. Of
no.
course,
She told me she was really upset about the fact that they burned that building down, because she paid for half of it, and she helped build it, and Ed wasn't even there.
Wow.
Oh, got nothing to say now, white lady? Yeah, that's how it went. And here's another, but she insists, like she knows what the F she's talking about. She's just here to plant propaganda on behalf of her lover. Look how brazen these people are. It's sick what these people did and what they are willing to do. Here's another clip.
Well, like I said, I have a long acquaintance with Ed. And
so did L'Oreal Blackshaw. So did Von Bo Lodge, the guy that
No. I'm not.
Oh no, that's what he told me. I'm just telling you.
I'm talking about in real life.
I'm talking about. He told me he's really good friends with L'Oreal and Von.
He may be. I can't.
That's what he told me. Oh, he
friendship.
told me. No, that's what he said. They were really good friends.
So, but what is the actual issue with them having burned that building? Why did you find that so disturbing? Ed was quite comfortable with that event.
Well, you would have to go and listen to L'Oreal's statement.
You seem to be putting a great deal of stock in this person, L'Oreal.
Well, she was the national spokesperson for the Veterans for Standing Rock. And
for Veterans Stand. Not Veterans for Standing Rock, Veterans Stand.
Well, they changed their name so much it's hard to remember.
No.
They changed their name.
Charter states that they are a nonprofit corporation.
They weren't at the time, though.
Yeah. They were by the time they got there. Veterans Stand.
Not according to Michael Wood. You got to go back and listen to the. No, they're not. They weren't. That was one of the reasons that he was able to get away with the crap he got away with, because as you know, and I got it from the horse's mouth from Wesley Clark and from Michael A. Wood Jr., that they took the money, Michael took the money, and they turned that into a nonprofit afterwards.
Yeah.
And he basically said, because we didn't have any kind of agreement, we didn't have a charter, we didn't have a nonprofit, I'm not held to any kind of standard. I can take the money and do whatever I want with it. And I decided I could have just spent it all. Go back and listen to my interview with Michael A. Wood Jr., where he admits that. Because I could have just taken the money and decided, I'm done. This is it. But I didn't. I held to what I said I was going to do. I started this organization. and it's going to have other missions and do other things. And part of the money, I'm using it to get myself a house and move to California, to Los Angeles. Right across the street from the Young Turks. Right across the street from the Young Turks, because one of them's going to be on my board. He was bragging about how they're going to be on his board, the Young Turks. Michael A. Wood Jr. is hooked up with the Young Turks, right? And he kept Sedef. Wes brought her in, but he kept Sedef, who later went on to work with Chris Dussing. Okay. So we remember that stuff.
Yes, we do.
If you don't, go back and watch Veteran Stand, Respawn, and Beyond 1, 2, and 3. And I've got all sorts of interesting interviews in there you can go back and listen to. Do I have any more, Yesta?
Yep, one more.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, obviously, if the woman is in jail, they must have evidence of some form that they're using, physical evidence. They would have to.
No, they don't have any. They don't have any. There isn't any.
Of course, it is Morton County, so I have to take that into consideration as well.
No, but Bill Runningfisher told me himself there was no physical evidence. He didn't take any pictures. There isn't any report. Nothing.
So I guess my question, like I said, I'm going to go back to these fires just because I'm trying to understand why you were so concerned about a fire that the owner of the building wasn't concerned about, and why you were, and how did the Michaels get involved in it, other than the fact that they did what they were asked to do by Ed?
Because, they were told to start the fire by Ed? I didn't know that. That's new information.
Well, this is what I'm understanding, and that's what I'm trying to understand from your broadcast tonight. My understanding is that, and from reading the comments under your broadcast, is that Ed was aware that the fire was set, was taking, that was the building was burned, and that he was perfectly okay with it.
Well, that was.
Did you read the comments on your stream tonight?
I can't read while I'm broadcasting at the same time that I'm doing my show because
gotcha.
I'm going.
Gotcha. Yeah, I get it.
It's very difficult to. I'm not a live streamer. I'm like running a radio station, so I actually have to, go off of my notes and
Gotcha. Because in the comments this evening, Ed spoke very blatantly that he was not only aware of the fire, but he was fine with it. And
yeah, he said that before.
Nobody seemed to understand why you
he said that before.
So upset.
He said that before, and I spoke to it in my live stream tonight. I don't know if you heard me. It is not conscionable to put the lives of other people in danger.
But the lives of it, there was nobody in danger at that fire. The footage is very clear. Everyone was well clear of
that's
that happening.
Itza, that's ridiculous. When you are in that camp and you're in a situation where you could be raided at any time, and they will use any excuse to do so, for somebody to light a fire like that in the middle of the night is ridiculous. That's my opinion. I stand by that opinion. I don't care who disagrees with it. That is reckless. It's stupid. It makes the camp look bad. And in the video in which Michael Marcus and Michael Fasig are talking to some man in the camp that comes up to them and asks them why they would be so reckless, who gave them authorization, what are they doing to the camp, why are they smearing the image of the camp in this way, and they're laughing and they're acting like it doesn't even matter, and
because they were doing what they knew what they were doing. There was no recklessness involved in it. So now
yeah.
I was not there during that time, so I don't know what the general feel.
Well, you know what happened?
Was.
What happened during the evacuation where they burned all the buildings? Two people were seriously burned in an explosion.
There was one. There was an explosion, yes, and
yeah.
I know that one girl was injured quite quite badly.
Two people were injured.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but those were buildings that we were not part of the ceremonial burning. We don't know what happened at that building.
We were not. Were you there?
I was not in the camp on the evacuation day. No, I was at the casino on evacuation day.
Okay. Yeah. So, why would you say we were?
But well, because I was very aware of the ceremonial burnings and things that were going on. But the building that had the issue where the girl got hurt, I know was not a building that was among those
that you were burning.
Ceremonial burning.
That you were burning.
That
slated.
I wasn't burning.
Well, that was slated.
Was slated for ceremonial burning.
Oh, okay.
I know that the building that girl got hurt, where the girl got hurt at, was not a building slated for ceremonial burning.
And how did you know? And how do you know that?
Because there were I had many eyes in the camp that day.
And and your eyes were what? From who? From camp security? From who?
Both camp security participants and outside media. There was a lot of people in the camp that day. There was a lot of live streams in the camp that day, and there were structures that were specifically the Navajo hogan was burned on purpose. The guard shacks were burned on purpose. There was an inipi that was burned on purpose. But the building that the girl got hurt at was not among buildings that would have been burned for ceremony. Of that, I'm 100% sure.
How are you 100% sure? How?
Because it was a tent and it was a tent. I guess I'm not sure what the exact word is on the description of it, but it was a wood and tent structure that had been someone's personal dwelling. And my understanding is there was somehow other fuels were involved. A propane stove of some type wound up involved in that fire, and no one is even sure how that fire was started. No one has any footage, or at least no footage has yet come forward as to how that particular building even became involved in fire. Because that building was over near the Peltier, and I'm probably butchering that name as well, the Peltier bus. And nothing in that area, that was a living area, that was not a ceremonial area at all. And the nearest inipi or ceremonial building from there was probably a good 250 yards away, maybe even farther. Because it took me, when I was in the camps, it took me damn near 15 minutes to get from there to the inipi that was burned. So it was definitely a hike. Of course, with the mud and everything. If you were out there recently, the mud was just like frightening. But it was definitely all the way across camp on the other side where the ceremonial burnings were happening. And the Navajo structure, it was, which was, of course, the largest structure that was burned, that was a decision made by the Navajo elders to burn that structure. So you have to understand in Lakota, Dakota, Malakota culture, this is normal to burn religious structures to prevent them from being desecrated by the enemy. And believe me, if there was ever an enemy, it is Morton County. If you could ever tag someone as blatantly hostile to indigenous persons in North Dakota, you don't have to look any.
further.
And she should know because her lever boy and Marcus, his commander in the security team that he was in, and all the people they were running it with, were helping Morton County put people in jail, falsely accuse people, hurt people, injure people. Did you notice how after we talked about how a person have to be life flighted, there was serious injuries, people got very severe burns, and she's like, yes, but the structures, and I'm like, wow, like she is cold-blooded. She did not care about the people at all.
No, she didn't even show any remorse. Also, it's her whole attitude was, and her cultural. She's going to teach you. You see, there's this cultural.
I wanted to rip my eyes out and my ears out when I was listening to her. I'm like, kill me, please, now.
And it was like she was talking about Dakota, and then she's talking about Navajo. And Navajo elders in the biggest structures, in their ceremonial structures. And it's like everyone I've talked to, when that spread, see, that was a talking point, spreading as a rumor around camp that when you saw a building burning, it's a ceremonial. Oh, ceremonial burn. Where was the ceremony? All I saw was flames and fire and smoke. Ceremonial. Usually, and it's like, I don't know, this woman is so full of it. But she also acts like she was this psyop, she was in charge of all this stuff. She's in part of these big meetings where the whole camp was mapped out, and she could say that these two buildings weren't slated for being burned. And then she said she wasn't even there. And then she said, well, it took 250 yards from where that tent was burned to go to the nearest ceremonial building, and it took me 15 minutes to go to where the other one had been burned. What she just, during the evacuation, did she like at the casino then run to the camp after the fires are burned and then run back to the casino? I don't know. Parts of her story don't match. But the thing that grabs me the most is that she's talking like she was a commander in charge of a group of people. When she said she had eyes on the ground, eyes over there, she talked about, well, there has been no videos or, blah, blah. So there's been no videos of how that fire started. I said, so are there videos of people actually starting these ceremonial fires? Where are those videos? And part of the premise of the show today is look at all the people who were playing with fire, who were never held accountable, even though publicly they're saying they're responsible for starting these fires, and they aren't hauled off and charged with federal charges when Brennon is. Bravo 1's charged with starting some fire, somewhere without any evidence, and he's facing 15 years in prison. And these people are showing videos of themselves starting fires, and they aren't being prosecuted for fire. Mike Fasig, he had another charge. It had nothing to do with the fire. Dean Dedman had no charges dealing with fire. And now Yesta, you're talking about in the knowledge conspiracy in all these fires, and you aren't facing any charges. I'd be worried if I was you.
Not only are they all fire starters that actually got people hurt, that actually got people arrested, falsely accused, people that are still facing up to 15 years like Bravo 1.
Yeah.
They're all liars. They're all liars, and they're all hanging out with people that are known informants, rapists, liars, etc. They're all connected in that way. And one of the people that I showed you in a video that I started to play yesterday, with Starfish,
Yep,
Aylin Antinok, a.k.a. Starfish, when she came out to Minneapolis to squat at Mike Fasig's house during the time when all that stuff was happening, where Lacey Jean Williams went out there. This is at the same time when they were promoting that that work with protecting Courtney Doctor.
Oh, yes.
And you have a clip of that.
Yeah.
That shows that she was very excited to be part of this protection with Fasig.
Protection
and
of the
listen
defectors.
to how she talks. She made contact here. Then I made contact there. Then I made contact here. How the hell are you affording all these trips back and forth here and there, thither and yon, to do all these things? And now you're going to work with a defector. A defector.
Yeah,
That's a
defector.
weird way to say it. Here's
Yeah.
the clip.
That kind of fell through when me and David were in Omaha, Nebraska, and because the camp that he was in contact with, White Pine in Pennsylvania, the injunction passed to allow for a raid. So that raid is now imminent. There is Tiger Swan there in force. They have a small group of people, but they're very well coordinated and they have experience. In order to get in front of that earlier on, he caught a flight out in Omaha. So then I went to Eagle View Camp, made contact there, and then went to Bismarck to talk about my court case with my lawyer. Yeah, of course you can share. Hi guys. And so after talking with my lawyer about my court case, which the court date is still pending, I met up with Mater, who is still working with a defector from DAPL. And I was like, that's really fucking interesting. I definitely want to help with that, because that is the information that there's no possible way, unless someone is an infiltrator, we will not be having on our side, So allowing the information to come from defectors and making sure that they're safe, because this particular defector, received threats against her life. Now, it's not a good thing if, like, the first defector that we have coming to our side gets hurt. Because, she's
the first that's public.
The first public one that actually is visible right now, though.
No,
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, you're good.
She talks about the fact that she doesn't want this water, she calls her defector. She doesn't want her to be, how would it look, she says, if we have one of these defectors and the very first one, like in the history of time or what? I mean, she's like, the very first one is injured or something in our care, this would be awful, right? So, I guess the objective is to make sure she doesn't get hurt. Well, I'm sorry to report she did actually get hurt, and by the person that always had hurt her, Kyle Thompson, the same guy that the authorities did not punish after he was turned into the authorities for threatening people with a semi-automatic weapon.
Exactly.
The guy that Brennon, we were just talking about how he disarmed him. He didn't get in trouble in any way, shape, or form for brandishing a weapon, for being on meth. He was arrested not too long after that. And guess what, folks? What happened to him when he got arrested? He went to jail. He got bailed out. And he was out, able to do his thing again, if he so chose. So, he did just that. Here's a picture of what he did to Courtney. You want to read that, Duke?
I sure do. It's kind of horrifying. It says, I usually don't get involved with other people's business, but this is what's happening to a friend I met a few years ago in North Dakota during CNA classes. She's going through domestic violence. Please share until it gets someone who can help Courtney Doctor get out of this mess in the Bismarck, North Dakota area before it's too late. This should never have to happen to anyone, no matter what. I'm a military spouse and support our troops 100%. But this man, this vet guy, doing this to this poor girl needs help before things get out of hands. And I'm hoping it hasn't already. And then they should show her teeth knocked out.
One of the things that, next to that picture of her teeth being knocked out, is the picture from where her boyfriend is being disarmed by Bravo.
Yep, exactly.
In the water in the Missouri.
Yep.
okay, at camp. That guy associated with that crime here has committed another crime. Not just another one of many crimes. And many of them involving drugs and violence against Courtney. Drugs and violence against people and the public. Yet he was supported by the WPLC.
Yes.
Yet he was supported by the Activate Now people.
Yes.
Aubrey Peckham,
Yep.
Mike Fassig.
Yep.
All of those people supported the continuation of giving backing and support to both Courtney Doctor and to Kyle Thompson throughout this whole thing. They spent so much time, effort, and I'm assuming a lot of money in supporting those people over water protectors they could have been helping that entire time, which is incredibly disturbing to me.
Yes.
Here, I want to show you why this is so incredibly disturbing. That this Aylin Antinok suddenly shows up in the life of Samantha Magdaleno after she had posted about her a long time ago. This is Samantha's post. It says, "Warning, Aylin Antinok." This is her recent post. Now Aylin Axiali on Facebook is an agent, says Samantha. She is not to be trusted. She was in Standing Rock collecting intel. She followed me to Flint, where she validated an ex-skinhead, Ryan Laurie.
Yes.
She validated camps that harmed Flint. She was buddies and trashed me with Mike Fassig, the guy who forced a woman to lie about his son raping and kidnapping her on a live feed. And then she went to Houston, Texas, where she tried to have people tie up emergency lines while folks were dying after a hurricane because she wasn't priority to take a shower. After I left Houston, she went to the same people I was helping out. Not to mention, when I called her a fed on my live feed, I was blocked from making live feeds for a month.
Wow.
So imagine this. She followed her to... Aylin went to Flint, Michigan. This is where Samantha lives, has been raised, has grown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then she finds her following her to Houston. She doesn't just follow her to Houston and make an ass out of herself there, wanting to center herself more than the people that were devastated by the hurricane. No, Aylin, on top of that, is stalking Samantha.
Yeah.
When she sees that she goes to certain people to help them in the emergency, she shows up and piggybacks and offers support to those people just so she can talk to them about their recent aid from Samantha. If that isn't bizarre,
It is.
I don't know what is. And that was posted by someone else, as you saw. I then shared those comments of hers and what she had stated about Aylin in the past. And I received some negative comments from people that were upset that I was saying negative things about Standing Rock. Aylin Antinok is not Standing Rock, and Standing Rock is not her.
Yep.
So for me to call out a phony or a bad person should be standard. You know that that's how I roll. I don't care what sacred cow people are trying to protect these days. So let me have you listen to a video where Samantha tells you herself the kinds of attacks she faced after she posted that statement about Aylin Antinok. Here's Samantha.
Hey, I'm doing a live feed. Hey! I'm not a bot. I got accused of being a bot today, y'all. Like, that's the first time. Like, I've gotten accused of being a millionaire and making millions off of Standing Rock and not doing anything for my community. And what else have I been accused of? Like, a bunch of, like, weird crap. But it's always so funny to me, like, my profile is literally so public, like super public. Like, you can go all the way back to when I was in high school, and my profile is public, and you can see what I've been doing. And especially if you're on my friends list, because sometimes, like back then, it was friends only. but I've been trying to like turn a lot of it to public. So anyway, I just wanted to do like a quick live feed because this one lady was like, you must be a bot, and you're this, and you're that, because you're accusing Aylin Antinok, or Aylin Antinok of being an informant. And I'm like, yo, she's literally been stalking me since 2015. Like, I literally seen pictures, and I posted pictures of her at my rally in 2015. She followed me to Standing Rock, she followed me to Houston, she followed me to Flint, she followed me to Detroit groups. Like, she tried to infiltrate Detroit groups that, like, I'm very involved with, and my, like, people had to tell her, like, Melissa Mays, Mama Lila, Sarai Garcia, like, Mama Rosie, like, they all had to tell her, like, get out, like, we don't trust you, like, no, we see what you're doing. She showed up at my uncle's work, like, she's in Ferndale, Michigan, she showed up at my uncle's work. Oh, hey. Oh, I wanted to show everybody real quick. Anyway, she showed up at my uncle's work, and she started working with him for a month in freaking Ferndale, Michigan. Like, tell me that's not an informant trying to work with my uncle who has the same exact last name as me. Like, coincidentally, like, really, like, out of all the jobs and all the places you're supposed to be, you show up in Ferndale and you start being a waitress at the same exact place as my uncle, and I'm not supposed to be surprised by that. I'm not supposed to think that that's like really creepy and weird, and I'm not supposed to call this person a fed and informant. Like, excuse me, she went to Houston, Texas, and she literally, while people were dying in Houston and Hurricane Harvey, she told people, call the emergency lines because I'm not a priority for a shower. So she told people to tie up the emergency line so she could take a shower. That's some white privilege shit, and that's beyond white privilege. Like, she was willing to let brown folks die in Hurricane Harvey in the middle of it so she could take a decontamination shower. And I'm not supposed to say that that's not fishy. Exactly. Like, that's very suspicious. So yes, I called it out. And then when I seen that she was working with my uncle in Ferndale, I was like, oh no, like this is wrong. And then I see pictures of her in 2015 at my rally, and don't tell me she didn't know it was my rally. Because that rally, that was like the second or third rally I gave for this guy, Jimmy, to try to stop his deportation case. And literally everybody there knew who I was, knew that I was the one who was doing all of the stuff. And like, she wanted to act like she didn't know me. And then she's best friends with Mike Basic. And Mike Basic, mind you, is the guy who his son raped and kidnapped a woman. And then Mike Basic made that woman go and do a live feed saying that his son was innocent. Like, he forced her. Like, and all this came out in court. Like, his son, Mike Basic's son, actually went to jail for all this. Like, it all came out, like, irrefutable. And this is who that girl Aylin is, like, best friends with. And best friends with Ed Higgins, best friends with Ryan Laurie, who was a skinhead from Flint that messed up all the Flint camps. Like, you talk to anybody from Flint that were the actual leaders in Flint, and none of them wanted those camps there. Those camps took resources from the people. So, like, this chick, and then now I heard that she's in North Dakota again. So, like, where are you getting this money? Like, excuse me, weren't you just a waitress that didn't have any money working with my uncle because you didn't have any money? Now all of a sudden you got plane tickets to go to North Dakota, and that stuff is not cheap. Like, from me, like, I had to go and visit Brennon all the time because of his court case. I had to go there to get him an apartment because of all the charges that he was facing. That stuff was not cheap. It was not like $100. Like, those plane tickets were expensive. And she's going to sit there and tell me that I shouldn't be suspicious of this. And then I get accused of being a millionaire. This is what I want to show y'all. It's like, Brennan, what time is it? 11:34 at night. We're Eastern time. This is where we're at. This is Brennan. Brennan, wave. He's back there. Ooh. Wave, babe. That's Brennan. This is what I look like paint all over me. We've been doing drywall. Babe picked up a big job. For those who don't follow me all the time, Brennan works his butt off. He works 3 to 4 jobs at a time, and this job was huge. Like, they had to redo like all of this stuff. He got done doing a roof, and his workers were flaking out on him. So he calls me and he's like, babe, I don't know what to do. I have a deadline. I'm out campaigning, mind you. And let's talk about my campaign. I have yard signs that only have one side and not two. Everybody else has two. You know why Sam has one? Because I don't have money for that. because I'm not a millionaire, because I can't throw down $10,000 into my campaign because I don't have money for that. And I know my people don't have money. That's why I asked everybody for a $5 donation. And I've made it work with however I needed to make it work. Like one-sided yard signs, whatever. It was cheaper for me, and that was the priority. So like I couldn't believe that they called and they sat there and they said that. Babe, we can go now. They saw the workplace. We're leaving right now. Like, Manny, what time is it? I just forgot. Say hi, Manny. Haven't we been here working all day?
All day.
Exactly. So this is Manny and another one of our workers, one of our younger youth. And, I mean, we came out here to help Brennon out because, again, we're not millionaires. Let me show you who else is here with us. Jose, come here. Say hi.
What up, though?
Okay, what were we doing when Brennon called us to tell us that he really needed help with this project?
Knocking on doors?
We were knocking on doors, we were campaigning. And weren't we supposed to knock on doors till what time? 9 p.m. I was supposed to be knocking on doors, but Brennon really needed help. And didn't Brennon help us and take a bunch of days off of work, come home early to help us with the House for One Michigan, right?
Yep.
And what is that house for?
The youth.
So Brennon has taken a bunch of days off of work to work on a house for youth. Have we paid Brennon? Has One Michigan paid Brennon? Do we get paid? Nope. We don't get paid. One Michigan doesn't get paid. We are pinching. Did we get any money for our summer youth program?
We got a grant.
We got a grant. And how much money are we giving to the fellows? $500 each, right?
Yep.
So that's where that grant money is going. And it's for $4,000. So that's where that money is going, directly to youth for stipends, for participating in the community organizing trainings. So anybody wants to say, like, oh, you guys got grants, you got this. Like, no, we got one $4,000 grant, and that doesn't cover everything. That doesn't even cover a fraction of everything. And we're doing it out of the kindness of our hearts. And, Jose, if we weren't doing the summer youth program, what would we be doing?
Knocking on more doors.
Exactly. We would have a better chance for our campaign, for me running as state representative, if I wasn't doing the summer youth program. But I am who I am, and I can't just turn my back on the youth. So I'm doing the summer youth program. I do it Monday through Wednesday. Jose and I do it together. We do a fellowship on Fridays. Like, this is what we do. We do things for our communities. We're not millionaires by any means. Like, I wish we were millionaires. We have nothing close to that. Like, we are constantly trying to get people to invest in us, and really, we don't push out our GoFundMe. We do have one, but we don't push it out enough. And our own board members yell at us all the time because they're like, you don't fundraise enough. Brennon's telling me to go to the truck, or to the car. But I just wanted to get on live feed, and I wanted to tell people, you know, yes, I've been calling out informants. I've been calling out informants since 2017. Don't tell me to not call out informants. My boyfriend is facing 15 years in prison because of informants, because people set him up, because Marcus set him up and said his name. That's the only reason he has charges. So, like, and I have proof of that. Like, anybody wants to tell me that that's a lie, like I've said it plenty of times, like, screenshot Michael Marcus saying that crap, because I want that, because, sorry, we're turning down the volume for the radio, but I want that because that'll be useful for me. I already screenshotted when Olive Bias said it was a lie, and she tried to delete it right away, but I already got it. So, the things that I say, you're right, I don't work for the feds, so there's no way that I can 1,000% say, oh, this person's not on payroll. I can't. But I can put dots together, and that's what I've always done. I've always been a strategic thinker, and I've always been out for our community. Those people that are saying if you call somebody an informant, if you call somebody an agent, you're putting their lives directly at risk, that is a bunch of BS. No agents' lives are at risk. I've called out informants since 2017. Not one thing has happened to any of those people. You know what has happened? People don't listen, and people like Chelsea Lyons and Angela Sison that went to Flint and started a camp, they got evicted because they hurt the Flint residents that badly, that they were evicted. I have that eviction. I posted it several times on Facebook. People from Puerto Rico had to kick out Ed Higgins. They had to run him out because of how many people he hurt in Puerto Rico. In Houston, they got their resources taken away from these people claiming that they were going to help, and they did more hurting.
Like, this is what happens when you don't call out informants. This is what happens when you don't call all this BS out, is people's lives are at risk. Exactly, Sada. People's lives are at risk. That's what happens. Those are the people. The vulnerable communities are the ones that get hurt. And whoever you call an FBI informant agent, nothing happens to them. You know why? Because Red Fawn's boyfriend, who actually we know for a fact is FBI, like we have 100,000% proof, we know he's an FBI agent. We know he set up Red Fawn. Red Fawn is doing 5 years. He got nothing. Nothing is happening to him. He hasn't gotten harmed. Nothing has happened to him. And we've known for how long that he was an FBI agent? Beyond a doubt. His Facebook picture is going all over Facebook. This is the FBI informant. This is the agent. This is the one who set up Red Fawn. But has any harm come to him? No. And it's not going to. But these people keep telling you that lie because they want you to stop talking about it. And they say that you have to have this 1,000% proof. You're never going to have that. Look at Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers. His best friends set him up. Yes, they were down. Yes, they helped him out. And then what happened? He ended up with a bullet in him, and he died. He was set up. MLK, he was set up. Come on, Martin Luther King Jr., he was set up by informants. We cannot just sit down and take this stuff lightly and say, oh, well, you know, I don't really want to say anything. They might be good. They might be this. No, we need to protect our vulnerable communities. And at the very least, at least talk about it. If you read the facts and you're like, you know what, Sam, I don't really, you know, Aylin this, that, but I don't really see it. Okay, but at least you talked about it and you warned your community. You tell them, like, be upfront with them. Like, look, this is what's being said about this person. And then let them make the decision whether they want to be with that person or they don't want to be around that person. But at least have it out there. Like, this whole, let's silence Sam, let's call her a robot, let's say that she's a millionaire. Like, I'm not down for that. I'm not down for that. When you start doing stuff like that, like you are telling me you intentionally want to make sure that people are not informed and people can't make their own informed decision. Exactly. You got to watch out for one another. And that's why I put it out there, despite I knew that I was going to have people on my Facebook calling me an informant, calling me crazy, calling me all these other things. But I did it because I have to stand up for my people. And despite whatever anybody wants to say to me, I know that people are going to say, oh, for your campaign, you shouldn't be talking like that. People are going to think you're paranoid. People are going to think you're that. You know what? It is what it is. I'm me. I'm a revolutionary. I've told everybody that I want to run for office because I want to be true and I want to be authentic. And I'm not trying to run for office because I'm trying to be a typical politician. So I'm going to continue saying exactly what's on my mind. And hopefully it's going to save communities. Because I know a bunch of people that contacted me from Puerto Rico and they're like, wow, I finally watched your live feeds on Ed Higgins. You were spot on. I wish I would have seen these before I allowed him into my community, before we welcomed him into Puerto Rico. I've had people tell me that. And I'm like, wow, you know, if more people would have shared these live feeds, if more people would have at least share it. Like, I'm not saying you have to agree. You could always share it and be like, you know, food for thought. And let people make their own decisions. But when you're not sharing it, when you're just covering it up, you're allowing these communities to be vulnerable. And you gotta stop thinking that communities don't understand and that people can't make their own conclusions. Give people their own autonomy to make their own decisions. So I'm gonna get off here because we're in our car and Brennan's in his truck over there, and it's been a long day. It's been a long day. Again, people want to call Brennan millionaire. He's been working this job since Friday, right? He started this job over here. Mm-hmm. He's been working every day from about 7, 8 a.m. to about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know what people think he's a millionaire or whatever, but he's not. And one of the jobs that he did, he very severely underbid himself, but he continued and he finished the job because that's the kind of person that he is. And so the other guy was like, you know what, you do another job for me and I'll make up for what you lost. Because the guy knew, and he was like, you know, I respect you, Brennan. I respect your work ethic. I respect your honesty. He's like, and even though, he's like, I know you underbid yourself. He's like, but you finished it. He's like, and I have to respect stuff like that. He's like, so I want to make up for it. So he gave him another job, but it's a huge, huge job. And it's hard to find workers over here. We've cut all the vocational programs out of our schools in Detroit. So a lot of our folks in Detroit, they don't know the skilled laborers. They're not familiar with it. So it's hard for him to get workers that know what they're doing over here. So, you know, he's having a lot of barriers, but he's working his butt off. And he didn't ask me to come today. He just told me how hard it was for him at work. And Jose and I were like, you know what? He's helped us day in, day out with the house. We haven't paid him anything. Let's go over there. Let's stop door knocking. Let's help him as much as we can. I called my grandfather over here. Luckily, my grandfather came here for a few hours, too, because he knows what a hard worker Brennon is. So, like, you know, this is us, you know. Again, like, I'm not a millionaire. Like, I don't understand where that came from. Made millions off of Standing Rock. I wish we made millions off of Standing Rock, because it would help our organization. It would help us. It would help our community. But, you know, the sad truth is when it comes to giving out money, people of color don't get money. If you are white passing or you're white, that's who they validate, and they're like, okay, yeah, we can give them money. But when it comes to us brown folks, they're like, well, what's your short-term plans? What's your long-term plans? What goals do you have? How many people are you going to help? And we get like 50,000 questions. So I'm going to head out of here. Y'all have a good night. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. Bye.
So I let you listen to the whole thing because, I mean, I know that frustration and anger. We went through that. The witnesses in the Kathleen Bennett case, her family, it was very frustrating because it didn't just feel like no one was listening. It felt like there was a whole horde of people that were actively working to try to hide, silence this case, malign the witnesses, say that there was something wrong with Kathleen Bennett, muddy the waters, put out false or misleading information, try to discredit yours truly, a Mexican crossing lines, and by any means necessary to bury that story, to bury it, and to bury any kind of support for Kathleen Bennett. And we were able to overcome that. And I believe that Bravo will too, because a story like this, of this man who disarmed a person with a semi-automatic weapon at Standing Rock, this man should not have been left behind and forgotten. He should be getting help. He should be receiving some kind of assistance. And yet, he isn't. And I found it, I mean, I'm not here to defend Morton County or Tiger Swan. I know that there was a lot of rights abuses that took place out there, and there's a lot of other people that are being suspected right now. But I have this question, because the only person that we found that was guilty as a mercenary of committing a crime against somebody that was out at the camp was Bill Running Fisher. Bill Running Fisher, specifically, he made false accusations that were printed in the Bismarck Tribune about elder abuse that never occurred. He impersonated a U.S. Marshal, as many victims reported, including ex-firemen and police officers. And in addition to that, he was paid not by Tiger Swan. He was hired not by Blackwater. No. Bill Running Fisher had his own company, Eagle Child Consulting, and he was paid by the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock. That's who paid. The only mercenary so far that I know of that has committed a crime at Standing Rock against a woman, against Kathleen Bennett and against her mother. And those folks involved in those security teams went on to do a lot of other things when they left the camp. I think that bears remembering. And who and what was behind, who and what is behind the money and the support for the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock that became Veterans Respond, that became whatever they called themselves after that, and the way that it splintered down from Michael A. Wood Jr. and Wesley Clark Jr., and then it was just Michael A. Wood Jr. and Sedef, and then it was Chris Dussing and Sedef, and Borchers came into the picture, and I don't know if that was a deliberate way of detaching themselves from responsibility for what Veterans Stand for Standing Rock was and was supposed to do, was expected to do by the people, not only of Standing Rock, but by the nation that was watching, the nation that saw them raise over $2 million through their channels at the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur who supported this mission, who sent his star reporter, Jordan Sheridan, to cover this story at Standing Rock, right? And I think that it should freak anyone out that has waited this long with so many irregularities in his case, like Brennon has, the way that we did in the Kathleen Bennett case, to look very carefully at figures like these that show up in their lives. Because as she said, not only did this woman follow Samantha to Flint and to Detroit, she then ended up following her to do disaster relief work in Houston. And then she showed up working at her uncle's recently. And it turns out some of her students, some people that know her, found these pictures in 2015 at a rally. Here's the first one. You can see there in the forefront is Samantha. And in the back, if you look right next to the Spider-Man mask, there's a mask of Spider-Man on someone's t-shirt. The woman, the white woman, next to the Spider-Man mask is Aylin Antinok. This is before Standing Rock even happened. How interesting. Here's another picture. And this one, Aylin is circled in the red circle. You can see her there protesting with a group in front of the Rosa Parks Federal Building, U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Wow.
And what's even more interesting is that, as Samantha stated in that video that you just showed, this woman went on to become part of this group with her squad. Let's show you a picture of her squad. This is the group she was hanging out with at the casino, in the camp. The people, of course, to include Mike Fassig and none other than Sweetgrass. Here they are, her squad. There's Mike Fassig in the back. There's Aylin in front. And there's Sweetgrass. Y'all remember Sweetgrass, don't you?
Yes.
She was another one of the people that made a false statement to Morton County. Look how closely they were all involved in making false statements used by Morton County to put people in jail and kidnap people's family members away from them. Before they were kidnapping kids and putting them in cages, they were kidnapping grandmas and putting them in hospitals. This happened, and I told you about it here on my show. This woman was found completely innocent, and her mother was finally returned to her and her family. But not before a lot of damage was done. And these people helped Mike Fassig, Sweetgrass. This is the kind of people that Aylin was hanging out with back then. And here's the kind of people she was promoting. This is Vanessa Bolin. Not that one, honey. The first one. That one.
Sorry.
Here she's promoting Vanessa Bolin. And as you can see, she's promoting what Vanessa Bolin does. This is one of her Facebook posts. Here's another one where she's, again, promoting Vanessa Bolin. Remember, Vanessa Bolin made false statements that were used against Kathleen Bennett. And for a long time, even though she knew she was needed to testify and explain why this statement appeared in her handwriting in the file with the charges against Kathleen Bennett, she simply refused to acknowledge that she had ever given a statement. Even until the very last moment, she said that although that statement was in there and was really her name, and it looked like her handwriting, and it was what she said, and it was true, it was forged. She didn't write it. That's what she said.
I know.
It's true. I think she needed to save face because she held out for so long denying the fact that she needed to do something to help this woman until it became inevitable that that woman wouldn't go to jail for 15 years, that she would go free, and that she and everyone else that saw what Vanessa and everyone around her did to this woman, let happen to her and her mother, would think that she was a horrible person forever. And she's never even apologized. She just wanted to pretend she never did anything wrong. Whatever you mistook for her actions was not anything bad. These messages were sent to Samantha about Aylin. I want you to read them. They're from Eric. Here's the first one. The blue is Samantha. I'll be Samantha.
Okay.
She said something about more youth community organizers to run. We need more folks to take leaps. Okay, and then Eric says,
Aylin Antinok now goes by Aylin Auxiliary, probably because people were catching on. You were right about her, and then some. Oh, she didn't change her name much. And Aylin Antinok goes by...
I said, thanks for letting me know. I'm Samantha now. See?
Okay.
I knew she was bad. I'm making more connections.
I wish I could say I listened to you right away, but I held to these people way too long. Being a remote, no dappler, the worst people went live the most. Were most accessible and made us feel connected, you know? Effing snakes. I didn't listen because I was already sick of the drama, but I owe you an apology, even though we've never really interacted. FWIW.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. Never really interacted. I'm sorry and good luck. By the way, she deleted me when I started speaking up for Jews, so that's a big red flag for everyone, or it should be.
She doesn't like it when you speak in favor of Jews?
That's right.
Let's put that in our little notebook.
Yeah.
Okay, noted. It's all good as long as we're all on the same page now. She's done so much for red flags, but she's mobile and always has money to be on the move.
Which is a little weird, right? I mean, she pulls donations from gullibles, and I don't remember what your take is on Ed Higgins, but she's in tight with his crew. Yeah.
He's horrible. So that makes sense. He got kids kicked out of Puerto Rico.
Well.
Is that all of them?
Nope. We got this one. Your part.
No.
Oh, it's all good as long as we all are on the same page. Now she's done.
We already read that whole page.
Okay, sorry. It's a duplicate.
Okay. So then I wanted to show you some of Aylin's social media and what she has posted. Here's her Twitter account. Aylin Antinok. It says she is a 20-something Turkish feminist, civil rights, and LGBT plus activist. So she's Turkish.
Yeah.
She's not American. Noted.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the next one. And you can see she's got one of her tweets is about GoFundMe for Standing Rock on December 2017. It said December 17, 2016.
Exactly.
That was the day that Mary was taken.
Wow, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the same day that Bill Running Fisher told his story about Mary being abused to the police and to the Tribune finally. That was the day he invoiced the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock for over $131,000.
Mm-hmm. And she started her GoFundMe the same day.
Aylin started her GoFundMe. Here's another where she posted about a GoFundMe. Here's some other things that she posted. And if you don't know why these people are problematic, then I'll have to tell you later because we don't have time. But DeRay McKesson is one of the posts that she has here. And another one is Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour, who's been associated with one of those many poor people campaign movements that are going on, one of the oppositions out there right now, is part of an organization, BDS, that is accused of being anti-Semitic. No doubt why this is more confirmation that there is possibilities that this Aylin Antinok, who's a Turkish woman, may be anti-Semitic. Here's another post from her Facebook page, and we confirm here that she is Turkish because you can see on the right all of those comments are in Turkish. And then the next one shows you the translation. So you can see one of those said, "I just wanted to say you're beautiful, sister, and indeed your beauty is not is as important as your soul and your soul." Well, these are translated because you have to hit that little button underneath.
Mm-hmm.
The translations aren't always that great, but I
That's
just wanted to show you that's what it said.
Yep.
In case you were wondering what the Turkish words were.
Mm-hmm.
Here is another picture of Aylin and her family. That's her mom and her little brother. And you can see there's more Turkish there to the right. And here's dad, mom, and her little brother. That's Gülsen Altinok. And from the look of his and their Facebook page, on Gülsen Altinok's Facebook page, there isn't a lot of English. There's mostly writing in Turkish. But it says that he works at Wayne State University in Detroit Medical Center.
Detroit.
And when did he get that job? Can you tell us about Gülsen's job? Well, he got that on July 1st, 2016.
Wow.
So he started working there at the same time. The summer Flint camps were opening just as all of the stuff that happened at Standing Rock had ended and people were moving in different directions to different camps.
Wow.
So I wanted to show you a little trajectory of that and remind you at the Flint camp, Aylin was with Matthew Roby. Here she is, Aylin and Matt Roby. Oh, this is one of her posts.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you this. No, that's not the right one.
Okay.
So I guess I don't have the other post. But she did have a post where she was very upset about someone who seemed to be defending a sex offender.
I see.
So I wanted to show that seemed important to her, which really surprised me that because she was going and hanging out with Ed Higgins, which all of these people, including Yesta Resovich, said they had a long relationship with. Very fruitful and long and very close relationship with the guy that's accused of rape by Missy Waddell, as I shared here on my show. And Mike Fasig, who hid a rape. And Aubrey Peckham, who also helped hide a rape. This is a man whose son was convicted for kidnapping, for holding and torturing a woman and raping her against her will for about a week. And he participated. In fact, he forced that woman to do a hostage live stream where he forced her to lie about being kidnapped so that people would leave him alone, so that people would stop asking him where she was. That's how far the intrigue went. And Activate Now and Ed Higgins used their platform to try to hide the crime and to try to obfuscate the fact that Derek Fasig, Mike Fasig's son, was an informant for Morton County, as he was. As we later learned, he also was. As Mike Marcus is, the man that has accused Brennon Nastacio, the man who is a hero who disarmed a man holding a semi-automatic weapon at people at the camp. That's who we are talking about. So did you show the picture of Aylin and Matt Roby yet?
There it is. This
is them, and his camp name or cloak name or whatever it is, secret name is Manifest. So, yeah, they all have like, camp names that they had. So she was at Camp Flint, and we know who Camp Flint was run by. It was Ryan Laurie. Here's a picture of them together. So just in case you thought, well, maybe she wasn't hanging out with this man affiliated with white supremacy. He's got, I showed you on one of my shows all of his tattoos. He claims to have turned a new leaf. Actually, he's never actually publicly claimed denouncing his former allegiance to white supremacy. He simply has said, why are you bringing up all that old stuff?
Yeah.
I think it's very relevant if you're a skinhead, that you're trying to masquerade as something other than that. I think that it's very important that we look at who Aylin was hanging out with, who Aylin hangs out with, and what she's done, because it all looks very shady. Very, very interesting. Here's another person who, by the way, Miko Hayes recently wrote about a very disparaging article, something about her attacking the victim of her own son's sexual assault. It's Joanne May Spotted Bear. And here she is, Aylin, posting a picture of Joanne. and praising her.
Yeah.
Here's another picture of Aylin with TYT's Ty Bayless and Jordan Sheridan. Both of them were accused of raping a coworker, Carly Hammond, who will be coming up in pictures here that Aylin also posted. You can see she was hanging out very close by TYT's staff and following them around and filming what they were doing and reporting on what they were reporting on. That's Ty Bayless. The next one here is Carly Hammond next to Jordan Sheridan, and they're reporting on the Camp Promise town hall meeting.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of kerfuffle in that town because nobody wanted the camp there because of what was happening at the camp, because of the crimes being alleged at the camp, because of the fact that they were saying that a Nazi was running the camp. And the person that told me all of this was none other than the son of 4-star General Wesley Clark.
Yeah.
Wesley Clark Jr., who was out there with the vets. He brought the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock out there. He's given me numerous interviews, and one that I played recently, he told me that a Nazi was running Flint Camp, that they were going to start race wars. And he talked about the Flint Camp and Flint Town, and he said specifically that he had death threats with regard to this town. So yes, the people of the area did not want these folks here. Aylin is also connected to Chumash. Here she is with Chumash. She posted a picture of him, a silly picture of him, and she also is connected to Ernesto Burbanks. If you don't know, both of those guys are what they called the media group Relatives in Prayer, or the live streamers Relatives in Prayer. Another one of the many offshoots of live streamers that came out of Standing Rock. Here's a tattoo that she got. You can just keep going through them as I talk.
All right.
You don't have to wait for me to say them.
No problem.
Here's the photo of the tattoo that all of them got from Ernesto, all of the people that were working closely with this group of I don't know who's paying them. Maybe it's the Russians. Maybe it's another country of spies that are working. Donald Trump, our president, says it's not just the Russians that have infiltrated our elections and have spies in our country that are working to try to improve policy for Russia. And, you know, we found a lot of Russian spies connected to this story. A year ago when I was saying that and telling people that on my shows or in my town, I got a lot of sideways looks like, you're crazy.
What, you're crazy.
There's not really Russians threatening you. And I'm like, no, there really is Russians threatening me. And I wasn't kidding. And one of those Russians, I think, is going to be indicted very soon.
Yeah.
Cassandra, bye. So I wanted to share with you that she was also hanging out with Susie, and there's Angry Bird, right?
Yeah.
This is on February 4th, 2017. And here's a picture of her with a comment. She's at the Poor People's Campaign something, okay? If you don't know why those people are problematic, again, I will have to tell you on another show. I don't have time to tell you what's wrong with the Poor People's Campaign.
Yeah.
Not all the people that have been going to those marches are in the know and are bad, but some of the people in the leadership certainly are, and they have an agenda. And I think that now more than ever in our country, we need to know who is funding these groups, some of which are trying to radicalize Americans and pit them against each other. And I think that if and when you become more aware of the fact that a lot of that has been funded by Putin, and that a lot of that strife, not only the misinformation in the media, do you not think that if these Russian spies were able to avail themselves of assets in the political circles, in universities, in high places, that they didn't in law enforcement, that they didn't do that everywhere? They didn't do it within organizations, within movements, within campaigns, within other political parties, because they did.
Yeah.
Because they did, because people like Putin don't just put all of their eggs in one basket. They hedge their bets. They make sure, and And a lot of people that are lobbyists in Washington give to all the parties. You know how this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
So all the more reason to know that that's probably the case in what happened here to America, what's happening to America. Here's another very interesting post. Go before that. You skipped one. You skipped the one before that right there. Aylin, up, that one. Oh, that's not the right one. Wait, do it again. Maybe I'm wrong. No, that's the right one. You're right. Here's an Aylin post where she's at the Michigan Poor People's Campaign thing. Look who's in the comments. And this won't be interesting until later. But the person in the comments that caught my eye was Stephen L. Day. If you scroll down there, you'll see his name, Stephen L. Day. And if you pop in a little bit closer, you'll even see that he's wearing one of those beanies, those infamous beanies that apparently L'Oreal Blackshaw had ordered for all of her group, the people in her group. The Water is Life beanies. Green Party dude. And he's got that Stephen L. Day comment there. That's what this whole post is about, the Stephen L. Day comment. And why is this interesting? Well, I'm going to tell you all about Stephen L. Day on another day. But I think it's interesting that his last name is Day, like Maggie Day.
Yeah.
And also someone that showed up to make comments on his show a while back. Missy Waddell will remember this. Missy Waddell was the victim of Ed Higgins that was raped.
Yep.
Nico House came on his show a while back when I played Wes talking about Flint Camp and who invited him out to Standing Rock in the first place, and he said Nico House. And Nico House came on the comments of that show to say something negative about Missy Waddell and saying that he was ashamed of her for throwing him under the bus and he had only tried to help her. Because apparently Missy had gone to him. He has Mi Casa es Su Casa,
Yep.
a YouTube channel. There's a lot of talk about politics. Missy went to him and he did not out Ed Higgins as a bad guy, but he claimed in the post he tried to help her and this is the way you thank me. And Missy wasn't on the show saying anything. I just played a clip of Wes Clark talking about Nico, and then I elaborated on what I thought of what Wes said. I said, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know he was a real estate agent. I didn't know Nico House was a veteran, that he went out to Standing Rock with the veterans, that he never talked about being a veteran or being rich. I don't know if any of that's true. Wes claims he knows it to be so, and he knows him.
Yeah.
And then Nico House tagged in the comments a man named Jeff Day. I've never heard of Jeff Day. I just found the name interesting because right around that time, I had found out that this PR person close to Wes, close to the group of people that went out there to Standing Rock, Maggie Day, somebody that had been giving me a lot of information for our shows, was actually working on behalf of whoever's paying them. Is it the Russians, Maggie? I'm starting to think it's the Russians.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have one other guess here. I'm going to make my other guess here in a second. But I don't necessarily think it is Tyga Swan or Blackwater. It doesn't necessarily have to be the FBI. It could be Russian-backed operations funded by GoFundMes and other such nonsense that was raised by people like the Young Turks and executed by people like the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock and those who ran it and those who continue to have the reins over it. So I wanted to point that out to you because here's something I found on Stephen L. Day's page. It's none other than Michael Marcus. He had a picture of Michael Marcus at the back of this U-Haul with this woman. They all did a video together. They were getting stuff ready. This was, I believe, even long before Standing Rock. But these folks were all working together and hanging out. Here's another picture. This confirms, this came from Stephen L. Day's page. As you can hear, you can see, he says, Rattler Load Man.
Rattler Load Man.
And Rattler, it was his name.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Rattler was his name at camp.
It was
Hello?
well before camp.
Hello? Can anybody hear me on this thing?
Yeah.
Do you think these people were preparing an operation long
Yeah,
ahead of
long
Standing
ahead of time.
Rock? Yes. Are you guys starting to pick up on where I'm what I'm laying down for you?
Yeah.
I have more. Here's a post where Aylin is promoting the WPLC, and specifically there's Jeffrey Haas.
Wow.
And of course, as you know, that was BJ's lawyer who he fired. The guy that's friends with Ray McGovern. Ray McGovern, the man mentioned by Roger Stone on Chris Cuomo's CNN just the other day as the author of memos and briefs directed at President Trump in advance of his trip to Helsinki to give him the confidence to deny that he believes there was Russian meddling in our election by telling him that they had independent verification that showed that there was a possibility that there was no Russian hacking.
Yeah.
He lied. President Trump lied and threw his security community under the bus, made a mockery of America, and kissed up to a dictator. Because possibly because of the brief that was given to him by Ray McGovern, Jeff Haas's friend. These are people that have always denied Russian collusion. Ray McGovern has always denied Russian collusion. Trump has always denied Russian collusion. And yet, they seem to have a lot of interesting ties and connections to the alt-right and to Russians.
Wow.
Go back and watch my show, Snoops and Spies, Sticks and Stones. Go watch my last show, Trumped Up.
Yeah.
And catch up to where I am. Here's another post on Aylin's page, this one, where she is at an anti-Israel rally. Confirmation number 3, anti-Semitic. Ding, ding, ding. Next, here's another one where she's going to some kind of Antifa rally. So she's in Dearborn, Nazi counter demo. If you did not see my shows, did you not see? And many others in which I talk about Nazis and taking down Nazis and how to avoid being sucked into these counter protests where you will find actual Nazis like Ryan Laurie passing themselves off as ex-Nazis.
Yeah. Like it goes away.
They all just want to bring you into a situation of unsafety where they can get you arrested, like all of these posers did to people out at Standing Rock. Here is a post of Aylin's about Turkey's Erdogan. Can you read that, Duke?
Yes. So there was a vote in Turkey in regard to how much Erdogan, is that how you say that?
Recep Erdogan. Recep Erdogan is his name.
Okay, Recep Erdogan will be able to tighten his grip on the country regarding its legislation. The vote was to see if he'll be able to rewrite what the equivalent of our Constitution, the foundation of our laws, as he sees it. With over 84% voter turnout, the vote was 51.3% yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know if y'all know much about Erdogan, but if you don't know, I'm going to have to give you a quick primer right now.
Okay.
I'm going to have to educate you a little bit right now because you should know. So here is a post by Aylin about Erdogan. That's an important piece of information. Here is a CBS This Morning article talking about Trump and Erdogan, in which the title says, Trump fist bumped Turkish leader Erdogan, said he does things the right way.
Wow.
This is President Donald Trump speaking of yet another dictator in glowing terms. while he is thumbing his nose at the UN, making enemies of all of our allies, walking disrespectfully in front of the Queen, he practically smashed his Hulk his way through Europe before getting to Helsinki and making a mockery of America.
Exactly.
And this is just more evidence of the fact that he is trying to align himself with despots and dictators.
Exactly.
We have the despot and dictator from the Philippines, from North Korea, from Russia. Where else? Who else? What other despot and dictator has he cozied up to? Well, Erdogan. That's who. And in this article, it goes on to say the authoritarian approach to politics that Erdogan has pursued for the better part of the last decade seems destined to accelerate after last week's failed coup d'etat, as the president directs a widespread crackdown. Can you show us a picture of Erdogan?
Sure can.
In the Atlantic article? Up one?
Gotcha.
That one? This goes with this one, yeah.
All right.
As the president directs a widespread crackdown against his enemies, both real and perceived. So a coup, basically. And Turkey today looks less like a liberal European democracy and more like the kind of one-man autocracy commonly found in the Middle East. How did this country with so many journalists, government officials, and analysts who was once believed to be a model for the Arab world become a case study in reauthoritarianization? Well, you want to know what my question is?
Yes.
Can you take that down when I'm talking?
I sure can.
I would like to know how America went from being the land of the free into a dictatorship, into a fascist state. Because it seems to me that if you don't believe that that's where we are, that's certainly where we're going. And he is cozying up to all of the people that think and act like him and that believe as he does. Can't you see that? Here is an article from CBS where they talk about him fist bumping. You can show that next one. The one that you skipped over earlier. CBS article.
Yep.
Nope, that's not the one. Show me the Erdogan Trump. Erdogan Trump. Thank you. It says here in this article, and I'm going to read to you from it a little bit. This is a picture. It's not very big. You can actually see him showing his little fist bump there. I don't know if this was taken shortly before the fist bump happened or after the fist bump happened. But it is a picture of U.S. President Donald Trump and Turkish President Tayyip Recep Erdogan at the NATO summit in Brussels, Belgium on July 11th of 2018. In this article, it says Trump was very frustrated that he wasn't getting commitments from other leaders to spend more. Many of them said, well, we have to ask our parliaments. We have a process. We can't just tell you we're going to spend more. We have a legal process to follow. Trump turned around to the Turkish president, Recep Erdogan, and said, except for Erdogan over here, he does things the right way. And then he actually fist bumped the Turkish president. It was a startling gesture of support for the increasingly authoritarian Turkish leader, who recently won another term and is widely expected to continue consolidating his power. If you want to talk about to what extent the Allies are comfortable with Trump as a person, a strongman leader, who we saw at the G20, at the second meeting, what we see now with NATO, and at the Putin meeting, this is a very visible suggestion, said Bremer, which would make a fist bump unattractive and disturbing to people in America.
Yeah.
It is I think it to people and everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is a universal sign of way to go, good job. Yep, that's what the fist bump means, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what you do.
Oh my God! Don't tell me that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to tell tell us that he meant to go, I'm going to nuke you if you try to do anything bad, Erdogan.
Yeah, yeah,
and that the fist bump has some new meaning, like would means wouldn't. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's right. It was a miss fist bump. It was a miss fist bump.
No, I can't believe that's even true. But he's trying to make it seem like that's the case.
He meant to punch him.
Goes on to say, Bremer agreed that heralding a strong leader like Erdogan, who has initiated purges internally against critics and who has no effective domestic opposition, would make other European leaders nervous. Turkey is hardly a liberal democracy at this point, he said.
Wow.
And let me show you another picture of Aylin. Here she is. Go ahead, you can skip that one. We've already shown it, remember? Here she is with none other than the person that took over the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, with Michael A. Wood Jr. and then with Chris Dussing, Sedef Buyakataman. And in this picture, as you can see, if you will blow up the comment there, this is from February 9 of 2017, Aylin says, Sedef, literally the only other Turkish person at camp. So we felt like we definitely had to commemorate that moment. Her affiliation with the Vet Stand was kind of iffy, but she was chill otherwise. So Aylin even thought her affiliation with the Veterans Stand was kind of iffy. But here's what I think is even more interesting. I think her affiliation with TYT is more interesting.
Yeah.
Would you like to show us that, Duke? You can go ahead and show him as I talk about him. The one that says Jank. See that?
Yep, got it.
So here she is with Cenk Uygur. They know each other. My guess is that they know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when Kathleen Bennett's son, Russell, and Josh Long and Ren and Wes Clark Jr. all went before TYT staff in Los Angeles to tell them the story of this woman accused here in Bismarck, North Dakota and Mandan, North Dakota, of crimes she did not commit, of elder abuse that there was no proof of, and that there was people involved in the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock in this story, and that there was mercenaries that were paid by Veterans Stand for Standing Rock involved in this story, and that Jordan Sheridan, Cenk's star reporter, had been given this information by none other than yours truly, Cindy Gomez-Schempp, a Mexican crossing lines, and that they had not tried to go over the story or report on it, but rather they had sabotaged my reporting of those accusing Kathleen Bennett by prominently featuring them in the reporting of TYT and Truth Against the Machine, to thwart my efforts to expose the people around Kathleen Bennett's story, the false witnesses, the people that made false statements, the people that were maligning her, seem like good and heroic people. Despite all of this, on that day, during that time, Cenk was in Turkey. Cenk was in Turkey for 2 weeks, as Wes would tell me. So they were going to have to meet with Anna Kasparian instead. And why, Wes asked, someone like Cenk Uygur felt comfortable enough to go to Turkey to visit his family and move around freely for 2 weeks, given that he speaks out against Erdogan, if it is to be believed that he really is in opposition to Erdogan. How would he feel comfortable going there and hanging out for 2 weeks?
Good question.
Don't know. But he decided to go at that time. That's when he was there. And yes, he is connected to Sedef Buyakataman.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more. There's more.
There's more.
Yes. After Sedef pretty much kicked the Kathleen Bennett can down the road, I played my interview with her and Chris Dussing, where she said she was going to connect me to a lady from the ACLU that did nothing
I remember
but
that.
take notes on how much bad stuff we had on the Veteran Stand for Standing Rock, as if she was trying to deny liability on their behalf.
Yep.
And Sedef quietly distanced herself and washed her hands of any responsibility for having to do anything for Kathleen or her family or her mother, after being warned repeatedly that if anything happened to these people, the blood would be directly on her hands. On the hands of those who gave the money to Bill Running Fisher, who paid the people that harmed this family, who gave the orders for these people to be harmed or to be removed. The people connected to the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, not their underlings, Wes Clark, Michael A. Wood Jr., and Sedef. I talked to all three of them about their responsibility for this woman's life and for this other woman's freedom. After she left and washed her hands, she went on to do some work with an organization called Rubicon. And Rubicon does disaster relief work. Like a lot of these people went on to do, you know. But this organization is actually known for doing it. They're kind of legit. And I'm sure that the legitimacy given to Sedef by the work that she did out at Standing Rock for the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, and Wesley Clark Jr., the son of a 4-star general, and Michael A. Wood Jr., a former Baltimore cop, and this organization that got all of this important information, well, that was just the perfect jumping board to get into Rubicon. And she worked with Rubicon for a while, and guess what? She climbed all the way to the top. She got a commendation from none other than President Trump himself. Here she is proudly posting about how President Trump sent Sedef Buyakataman a personal commendation. She's so proud of it. Well, there's his signature. You can see it. It looks like a heart attack. Or what happens on a Richter scale after an earthquake. You can clearly see President Trump sent her a personal congratulations. Did you know that President Trump, congratulated anyone that had anything to do, supposedly, with the Dakota Access Pipeline?
Yeah.
For even if it had to do with their future work in disaster relief. Did you know that President Trump cared to commend anyone for disaster relief anywhere? Does he even know whether Puerto Rico is part of the United States yet?
He doesn't.
I don't think he does. I don't think he's cared about disaster relief. I don't think that the government has put enough money or concern into disaster relief. But Sedef Buyakataman got a bronze disaster service certificate, from a presidential award from none other than Donald J. Trump. Boy, there's a lot of Turks that Donald J. Trump likes.
Oh, he thinks he's
not just Erdogan.
Mm-hmm.
He also likes Sedef.
Yeah.
He gave her a commendation, and she seems to like him too. Why don't you read what she had to say?
I will. She says, well, you finally found a way to make a PIO speechless. I'm beyond honored, humbled, and motivated to do that much more. I love my hashtag tribe, and this one has meant more than I can ever express. Thank you, Team Rubicon, for helping me help others and all the joy and purpose that brings.
Yes. And that's all that I can tell you about today, kids, because I have been sitting here for so long, I no longer know whether or not I have a division in my back seat area. I may have to draw a new one on with this pen when I get up. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. I want you, if you can, to sleep thinking about what I just told you, because we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into that Team Rubicon thing. I've got a lot more show coming up. I have so many receipts. You cannot even imagine what I'm going to be bringing you next here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Thank you for listening to Liar Liar, Pants on Fire, and have a good night.